All right. Sorry about that, you guys. I had to get a couple of things settled. Already we have a couple of our familiar friends out. We have Shadow Band here, Variant saying hello, and Brian is in the chat. I won't be surprised if our numbers might be a little down tonight. I know Steve from Slow News Day. They had an event today, and of course, it makes sense that he's going to be out, talking about the event. And I'm going to talk about it a little bit. I showed up there, made my presence known, literally. I mean, not anything special, but I showed up. I wanted to show my support for the home run for Assange, and so I went out there. I met up with my good buddy Steve. Got to actually meet Steve in the flesh for a change. That was really good. Felt good to actually see him in person. Got to meet Glory Jones in person and Pasta and Fiorella from the Convo Couch. And then later on towards the end, I can't forget to mention my co-host Elle, which I need to call her in right now. So give me a second. I will get Elle on the line. Chris, how's everything been going, brother?
Marcus, what's going on? Audience, what's up? Thank you everybody for checking in. It's been a week. Work was busy. A lot of things happening in the news, just trying to keep up in addition to things I have to do in real life,
Technically too, because we couldn't get you on last week. Remember, you had the bad signal.
Yeah, I don't know what was up last week. I was sitting in the car and I kept, for whatever reason, it just would not let me in. It just kept spinning. So it was like super frustrating as hell because I had the lighting and everything, and I was like, okay, I'm ready. I could do this. And I reset the phone like 7 times. I was really ready to throw the phone. I just wondered if it was just a situation where it was just so many people around in the area that was just messing it up, But other than that, it's the same old thing. Just just trying to live and, survive, get by, have a good time, pay attention to this thing we call life and news in the world. It's good to. Oh, could somebody hear that? Somebody said jamming in the background. Can you hear? Can you hear the music?
If Chris goes, if he turns his camera off, we know he's in the background with the glow sticks, looking like Terry Crews from White Chicks.
No, you know what it is? The bar downstairs for the 4th, they have their volume turned up louder than normal. So that's what you guys are hearing. Let me see if I shut this window. Well, the window's closed, but let me see. Hold on.
Close the window again, right? And we have our one of our esteemed colleagues and co-hosts, Miss Elle Latham. How are we doing, Elle?
Doing all right. I accidentally fast forwarded. You know how I don't know how I did that. But to a clip with Biden at the beginning of it, I'm like, no, go back. I don't know how. I was like so surprised. I was like, I pressed the wrong button. Let me go back. This video. I was trying to mute the stream and I was on one page and then I ended up on another. I was like, oh shit, I don't care about Biden. Shut up. And the Supreme Court or whatever.
No, don't care about that stuff at
And it was Fox News. It's like they think I want to watch Fox News. It's so cute.
Don't you love when they do that? It's like you can watch 12 Jimmy Dore videos in a row, and then they give you Fox News right after.
Yeah.
I told you that you can watch the most out of bounds crazy video on anything right after if it's not Fox, it's CBS, ABC, NBC every single time. It's like They just have to force feed you into the mainstream news. So then you can just parrot. You can forget all of what you just watched. And then when you turn it off, the last thing will be what you saw from those big time networks. So I just always laugh when I see it. I'm very cognizant of it. I just don't know how much the average person is.
Mm-hmm. Well, I
And
guess.
Al,
Oh no, you were asked Ella a question.
no, I was just saying, Al, what's up? How are you?
Hey, good to see you finally again.
I know, right?
Last time.
I
Well,
know.
I actually talked to Jimmy Dore today. That's funny you mentioned it.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say when we go into the home run for Assange, then we'll go into that. I figure we'll start out with that first. We have a couple of topics that we definitely need to get into for this Farce of July special show. Of course, expect all the booms, especially this is California. They like to go a little crazy out here, so don't be surprised if it sounds like a whole building just came down behind me. That is normal out here. But we are going to be, I'm going to go in a little bit towards the end of the show talking about the 4th of July. Of course, I don't know if you guys have been paying attention. Hopefully you have, but her latest podcast, which she did, it went into the Delta variant, and it talked about a bunch of the different things which are going on. So I definitely want Elle to explain, some of the stuff that she talked about on the show. Bring some of the people into the loop. We'll talk about those different things. I know Chris is definitely going to have some questions from some of the stuff that she talked about on the show. It was a lot of information, but it was a really good show. I was waiting for a special guest, Harut. Harut wanted to come on and talk about Medicare for All and a couple of different things, but hopefully she will hop in, maybe later on. Either way, if she doesn't hop in the show, more than likely, probably another day, we'll work it out and get her on here to talk about that. And then also, we do need to talk about the Sunrise apartment building updates on that. We have a man literally on the ground. Chris is right down there, not very far from the area, and able to actually, attain a lot of information from the local news sources. And I'm pretty sure he's been hearing plenty about it. Also, he told me earlier that some of his coworkers possibly could even be, victims of this apartment fall. So I want to talk about all these different issues. And I guess first we'll start out with going into the home run for Assange. We were there earlier today, there with Steve Poikonen and Glory Jones from Slow News Day. Pasta and Fiorella, which was my first time meeting Pasta in person. Really, really nice guy. And if you guys are not following them, please, follow their channels. They do really great work over there. And as Elle was saying a second ago, Jimmy Dore and Steph actually showed up, and so at that moment we were able to get Jimmy Dore aside and find a moment to talk to him. I let Elle do most of the talking because I consider her a lot sharper in those areas than I am. So I let her lead on that and have no problem, taking a back seat. But I wanted to be there for moral support. So, Elle, tell them about, what you were talking about with Jimmy Dore, because it was interesting. He was actually like listening and like, you know what? She makes a good point there.
Well, I hope so. I hope that he took in some of what I was saying. I was just kind of repeating what everybody else was saying in his comment section on his YouTube videos, which featured that famous clip of our glorious Dr. Fauci saying that masks are useless, basically, and they don't really get rid of the droplets or whatever the heck in the air, and they have a health-based existence, whatever. I'm very tired. Anyway, and I was kind of tired when I talked to him too, but I had seen him previously, to preface this, at the Enough is Enough rally in 2016, I believe. I think that's right. Yeah, it was the election. So, wait, no. It was after the primaries, I guess, and it was like in support of Jill Stein, basically. So, it was that, and also Indigenous people's rights and all of this other stuff, Standing Rock and everything. So we met, and I gave him my business card and everything, because I'm a photographer as well, and that's what I was doing today, photoing and videoing. And that time, I met him that one time, and I brought it up today, so because I know that nobody remembers anyone after just one time meeting them, and that's normal. It's not a celebrity thing. They don't just hate you. But it's that not everybody has the best memory for a one-time meeting that maybe you remember because it was a special person or whatever, but doesn't really mean that they care. So anyway, I met him and I took him aside. I didn't take him aside, but that's fine. But I looked at him and I told him, like, basically I wanted to tell him about the comment section and what I had said, which was he was of the belief that Fauci, when he said masks are useless, was telling a lie. And the later thing, like his later position would be when he was telling the truth, when it was actually the opposite. So I was trying to explain that, but I also explained a little bit about Event 201, which he knew a little bit about, and Clade X, which not a lot of people know about, which is also on YouTube, by the way. You can check it out. It's from 2018, May 2018. And it's a pandemic exercise, but this time it's a bioweapon, so that's fun. This was the one where they killed over 100 million people, accidentally, of course, and then they laughed about it in the next one, so you have to watch that one to get the joke in the next one where they killed 64 million. They're like, phew, that's not that bad. Tom Inglesby said that. From the Center for Health Security at the Johns Hopkins University. But anyway, I talked about that, and I said lockstep, trying to bring that one up. Looked at Marcus like he knew what I was talking about. Like
I have to
for future development or whatever.
I have to be honest. Like when I just really drew like a brain freeze on any information. Well, when I was like, hey, it's Jimmy Dore. That's cool. And my mind just like blank on like, okay, yeah, technical stuff. All technical knowledge just went out of my brains. So
I also brought up Utopia, which was fun, from 2013 and then 2020 when they redid it in the US from the UK version, and John Cusack was in that version. And Marcus can say a little more about that because he watched the show and I didn't do that much research.
That part I was able to tell Jimmy about.
Yeah, thank goodness. Because, if you even watch that one clip, the compilation clip, I want to say it was a compilation of clips of the shit that they say about the vaccine in their little scenario and the virus, you can see, like, some similarities. Oh, they're lining up for the vaccine, like I said before. Like, it's insane. So just look up that clip when you get a chance. Just look up Utopia 2020 and you'll find the clips in succession in that compilation video. Sorry about my voice if it's like weird, but I did talk and schmooze a lot, so that will happen.
Yeah, I mean it's understandable. I did an impromptu speech earlier too. I didn't know if I would speak or not, but I was like, you know what? I was listening to. I guess I was getting hyped up by Glory's speech. She had a lot of passion in her speech. Make sure you guys check that out over on Slow News Day. But I started thinking about like all of the different issues with the different revolutionaries, and I know that this is geared towards Assange, and like the message is we are all Assange, because their goal is suppressing anybody who's trying to be a truth teller, and all of us are. Our goal is to be truth tellers and be honest with everybody about what's going on and have them look at the information and make their own choice instead of being lied to. And I I think back, Julian Assange, Daniel Ellsberg, I can't think of John Kiriakou. That's another one. You think of all these recent people who have spoken out from, the government, actually internally in the government who came out and spoke. Then you think about active duty military who coming out and whistleblow. And you look back through, the civil rights era and whichever different, what you want to look through. You look back in through Europe and different, different philosophers, how they were attacked. And it's always been the people who are trying to be a truth teller. Most of the time, the people who are calling out, the flaws in the system are always the people who are attacked and censored and, oftentimes martyred. And so, that's the reason why this whole situation with Assange is important. I mean, some people look at it as, well, if we can't save Assange, then that's almost like some kind of a failure. And I look at it more as in, they literally used to take our leaders back in the day and slaughter them any kind of way and get away with it. I mean, think about not that long ago what happened with Fred Hampton. I mean, he was literally drugged so he would be asleep. His wife was taken out of the room so they can walk in and execute him, and they admitted to it. And they got away with that basically. $1 million that they ended up having to pay after like 30 years. And now with this situation with Assange, it's gotten to the point now they realize we just can't walk in and snuff people anymore like we used to. We at least got to try to use our kangaroo courts, which they're still kangaroo courts. But the fact that it's gotten to the point where now they're like, all right, we know that we can't just outright do this shit how we used to. I feel like that should be taken as somewhat of a victory. I mean, am I right or wrong? What do you guys think?
Victory is when everyone is allowed to say whatever they want against the government and not be imprisoned for it. That's how I feel.
True.
That's when we know we've won. Until then, it's just not where it should be. It's an injustice system that, lets rapists out, but leaves people who were accused of rape and smeared by the press in prison for 75 years, maybe. But if you're a rapist, you get out in 13 months if you're Jeffrey Epstein, or you get out in 3 years, or in a year and a half if you're a celebrity. It doesn't matter. Or 2 years if you're Cosby. So, if you are an actual rapist, which you pretty much admitted at that point when you incriminated yourself in court, Mr. Cosby. But yeah, but a non-prosecution agreement doesn't exist for exposing war crimes. That's still not okay. Sorry, I had to bring that up.
No. I understand. You feel passionate about it. And a lot of people are rightfully upset about it. I mean, when I listened to one of his interviews where he was talking about like, well, every man's wish is to get to all the butterflies or something. He said it was something very where he tried to say kind of being cute, but it was still disgusting. And making it and if every man's goal is to chase women and sleep with a bunch of women, the difference is that's not criminal. It might not be the most apt thing to do or safest thing to do, whether sexually or just safe in general, because you start playing with people's emotions, who knows what happens. But I mean, at least they're not saying, you know what, I put one little drop in and watch them go to sleep and then we're good to go. That's a different story. All right. Oh, cool. We have We have our good friend and brother Emmanuel in the house. How are we doing, Emmanuel?
I'm fine, guys. How's it going?
E, what's up, man?
What's up, Chris? How's you doing?
I'm all right. You already know, man. We just hanging in there.
No,
Hey, Emmanuel.
who was that?
L.
Oh, hey, what's up, Al? How's it going?
It's Farce.
All right,
Yeah.
all right. What were y'all talking about?
Assange.
And a little bit of Cosby, a little bit of Assange.
Oh, you mean Cosby going free because of the conviction overturn? Right, got you.
Yeah, E, what's up, man? I hope everything is well. Um, they were talking about Assange before. I thought it was kind of um, I thought of him when Rumsfeld, when it was announced that Rumsfeld had died. And I was just thinking, this mother, beep, self-censor, this guy was able to live his life after leaving public service. I'm assuming he was able to make a lot of money. He was able to live in peace. He was able to do anything he wanted, go wherever he wanted. Obviously, you have security, et cetera, et cetera. But it goes to show how inverted the world really is, because you can be Secretary of Defense or whatever his position was at the time, or one of his multiple positions. You can lie to the public. You can get us into war. You can be responsible for murdering, not him responsible, but you can participate in the murder of millions of people worldwide, poisoning them, just overall making people's lives miserable, unlivable. And you'll get a state funeral. Somebody like Assange, you tell the truth about what happens, and you get locked in an embassy for years. And then whenever they decide that they've had enough of that, they can just drag you out of there and then take you to prison and leave you there. And then you can even have it that the main witness that comes out of the witness they use, come to find out he was lying. And it's all good. And we don't talk about that. But we have to look at the building and Surfside fall. And I don't mean to make light of it, but I'm just saying that was something that happened. I mean, we'll get to that later. I won't touch on it too much now, but that was something that was local to that particular community. The things that Assange released through WikiLeaks, that affected the whole world. And just because he decided to put that information out to the world, now he's in prison for it. And Rumsfeld is now just chilling. It makes no sense. The same thing with Cheney, same thing with Bush. It's like the more fucked up you can be, the more evil you do. Matter of fact, that's what we should do, man. We should stop trying to be good and help people. We should just be scumbags, and then Michelle Obama will give us some damn candy, and we'll be all right. You know what I'm saying?
I
But we're
mean,
not in the club. We won't get away with it.
that's true. There, you got to keep that part in mind. When you're in the club, you get away with it. When you're not, you don't. Like that you mentioned Rumsfeld, and I talked about him on my either I did car ride chats, or I don't know. I think I might have waited till I got home and did it. I was having bad signal issues, so apologies to those people who had to bear through some of that. But I wanted to wait till tonight to talk about Rumsfeld more. You brought up Rumsfeld, and I mean, look at the total contrast we have here. Mike Gravel represents like the old version of Assange, because with the Pentagon Papers, him releasing that. Granted, he was like the publishing company, so Assange received the information and he published it. It's the same thing that Mike Gravel did. Now, with Mike Gravel passing and I get Rumsfeld, them both passing at the same time, look at the difference in the way the media has treated both the deaths. Rumsfeld is looked at as, oh well, he might have had some controversial issues and dicey issues here and there, but they always find a way to, oh, but he got along so great with Dick Durbin or some random ass Democrat. And they bring up how, oh, well, they had fishing trips together. And it was this one time when he saved this kid from getting attacked by a bear. They'll bring up all this other bullshit to avoid what he did while he was Secretary of Defense. And me being active duty under him, I really wanted to say a lot about it because they mentioned, Mike Gravel as gadfly senator from Alaska. And they make him, he's a joke. He was just nothing but a joke. So kind of like Bernie was for the most part. He was a joke his whole career. He was kind of a little kooky on a couple of ideas. And, it's nothing to worry about. But, sad that old senator died. But they first have to mock him and discredit him as much as they can. Well, I don't feel they can actually discredit him, or they can only, smear or slander him. And the fact that you're going to smear and slander, a man in his passing, I don't think it gets any lower than that. And you literally take somebody who literally have millions of death on his hands, so much blood on his hands. And he's the one who was one of the biggest proponents of us going into Iraq in the first place, even though Iraq had nothing to do with 9/11. All of this weapons of mass destruction shit came out of nowhere with people like Rumsfeld and Cheney. And then he decides it's already a piss poor and shitty decision that they're going in there, and they're going in for the wrong reasons. He decides, on top of that, I'm not going to do what already showed work. I'm not going to send 500,000 troops, stage them on the borders, push them in, another 500,000, and overwhelm them and just march in and make everybody surrender. What I'm going to do is I'm going to send 250,000 troops in and let them go in and fight an area, take it, win it, go to another area, lose that area they were just in, fight and take another area, and keep doing that all the way around, over and over and over. That's what he decided to do with the troops. He cut down the number of manpower on the ground to make us have to actually fight now because it's small enough numbers that they're like, you know what, let's not surrender. So now he puts them in danger, puts us in danger, which we shouldn't be there in the first fucking place. But he puts us in even more danger by the way he handles the situation. Doesn't give us proper backing. And then with Dick Cheney, which hopefully his day comes soon. And people who feel like, well, you shouldn't talk bad about them. I don't care. Fuck them. Anytime you are responsible for millions of lives, I don't give a shit about you. In fact, I pray for your judgment to come. And I pray it's severe. And so, back on to Dick Cheney. And that I am meaning that towards him also. But Dick Cheney, he decides, you know what? I'm going to micromanage the fuck out of everything. So even though you might think you have Osama bin Laden, which Osama bin Laden is one of their freaking agents in the first place, we think he's the real enemy. We're creeping up on him. And we literally got a call over to a general here, who has to call to a general there, who has to call to this person, to this secretary and that secretary. So it goes all the way up to him. And then after you have the people sitting in a worse and more dangerous situation, kind of like a kill box, and our help doesn't want to help anymore, then you leave the men and women who are, I'm sorry they're a little brainwashed, and I was brainwashed too, but we're going in there really thinking that we're making a difference. And on what you sell us on, you don't even let us do that. And so it's the proof in the pudding that this game it's a game they're playing. And when I started seeing stuff directly myself, I knew what game was being played. Chris, go ahead and put that comment back up. It says, Thomas puts, Mike Gravel passed more civil rights and class reform than Bernie, Warren, and Squad combined. He also wasn't afraid to call out the wars, CEO and police state, unlike today's so-called leftists. That's the reason why I was supporting Mike Gravel. I supported him in 2008 also. I only went over to Bernie after it got to the point where I was thinking, who do I think could get something good done? I knew Gravel was just trying to get certain issues talked about, and I knew they were going to keep him off the debate stage for it. But I was still supporting him this time around. If he was seriously running, I would have stayed with him until the bitter end. I wouldn't have even thought of touching Bernie because of, like Thomas, very eloquently laid out there. Mike Gravel was better than all of them. Mike Gravel was Bernie if he never lost his balls. Variant said, wait. Hold on, go ahead.
Where's Kelly? No, I was gonna say, speaking of Bernie, the thing that sucks about him is that he sounds good on camera, right? The things he says are the things that we do need on some level. However, the dude has no fight in him. He will stand up and he will filibuster, right? I mean, it's not all or nothing, right? He does do certain things in terms of him being a senator, to speak out on behalf of the have-nots. But at the end of the day, he showed no fight, no backbone when they were cheating him. And then he went out on the road to campaign for Hillary the first time. The second time for Biden and the Democrats. And he paints himself as he's an independent, and yet he continually aligns himself with the Democrats, and all they do is make fun of him behind his back and slap him up his head. They slap him in the back of his head, and they put notes on his back, kind of like what Biff used to do to Marty McFly in Back to the Future. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Oh no, keep going.
Chris, they're all like that, man. All the Democrats are like that. They talk a big game on Twitter and whatever, but that's pretty much all action. Their actions are shit, man. It's ridiculous. So I have literally no faith in Bernie at this point. He talks a big game, but he's not doing anything.
Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. I couldn't get on board with Bernie in the 2020 election because I knew he would fuck us over, and I knew he would go and support Joe Biden and go out for him, and just like he did for Hillary. Once he had done that for Hillary, who's worse than him, in so many ways in terms of Middle East policy, then I knew it was over. So I was like, fuck that. So I supported Giant Media in the last election, and I don't regret my vote at all.
Yeah, correct. I mean, like she said, once you saw that he was once he went out there for Hillary, it was just kind of like, oh, Bernie Cuck. That's a good name. Shadow Man.
Nice one.
See, I would have called him Bernie Unit, so that's what I would.
You said what?
I said Bernie Unit. That's what I would call.
I know. And, it's just, and through Bernie, they did a lot of things, right? It was funny. You could say a bunch of shit about him and it wasn't anti-Semitic. Any other freaking Ashkenazi person that you're like, their breath stinks. It's like, oh, you're anti-Semitic. And it's like, they just finished eating horseradish and onions. Their breath smells funny. And, you'd be called anti-Semite, ADL be on your ass, and the rest of them. Bernie, you could literally be like, he's he has 3 houses, he hoards money. You can make all those tropes that they always crying about to him. So it's just very interesting how that played out. You know what I'm saying? You could kill him and it's okay. So I guess he's not the Jew that you can't make fun of. Everybody else is off limits. I didn't make the rules. I'm just calling it like I see it.
But wasn't that the same thing with Jeremy Corbyn too? You can go after Jeremy Corbyn. It's all good.
It was the same thing with Corbyn, just like you said. But except with him, they just kept telling him that he associates with nothing but anti-Semites. That there was so many anti-Semites in the Labor Party, in England, and Corbyn is leading this group of anti-Semites. And it was just, the propaganda was so dumb. And, you know, they always talk about black on black crime. To me, that was like Jewish on Jewish crime because, you know, it was the media who's actually running those campaigns, right? And we know who runs it. So it's just very funny, which is why it was allowed, quite honestly.
He's such a weakling.
So much so. I mean, I honestly look at how could you decide that, you know what? I'm just gonna go in here. I'm gonna half-ass it. Like I brought up earlier with a couple of people out there for the at the home run for Assange. I said, you know, one thing which I started to notice after a while with Bernie. Bernie will call out the millionaires and the billionaires, but Bernie will only call out a handful of names. It's like they gave him a pre-approved list. You can talk about Mark Zuckerberg. You can talk about Jeff Bezos. You could talk about, actually, he doesn't really talk about Bill Gates anymore. But you could talk about these handful, but you can't start naming some of these other people. Let him start naming Michael Dell. Let him start naming, you know, Jeff Bezos. Let him start, I mean, not Jeff Bezos, but, you know, Melinda Gates. Let him start putting some of these other people's names out there. And it's gonna be a little different for him.
He's also a millionaire, so he can't say millionaire anymore. He says billionaire all the time.
Oh yeah, that's right.
It's all the billionaire's fault. Millionaires are fine. Don't look into my finances.
and keep in mind, this is a millionaire in Vermont. Vermont is not an extremely high cost of living place, so $1 million goes a long way in Vermont. It goes a lot further than it does here in California.
Oh yeah, California, Georgia, or Florida here. I mean, it may go a little bit further in Georgia, but it's not a whole lot, you know.
Well,
but Vermont, Vermont, you Super Bowl.
Because you can be in Savannah, and oh yeah, it go a long way. But if you write off of Buckhead, no, it's not. I mean, Emmanuel can elaborate more on that. The cost of living in Atlanta versus, you know, other parts of Georgia is vastly different.
Hugely different. If you're talking about living in Metro Atlanta versus like rural Georgia, wide difference. I'm just internet, every cost of living, all of it's different. So he's right. He's correct there.
But even like, well, when I lived in Atlanta, Metro Atlanta, back in the day, like early 2000s and such, until 2009 when I moved here, I saw that, you know, where I lived, which was Metro Atlanta, but not actually Atlanta, which is Norcross, was quite different from Buckhead. So I would go to Buckhead to feel rich and to go get some vegan food because that was the only place I could find it at a 7-Onda co-op. So I went to a co-op on the bus for like a couple of hours and would get food and then take it back home to my shitty condo.
I know when I went up there, I've been to a couple places in Georgia because when I used to work armored truck, I would drive I used to go to Valdosta a lot and Savannah occasionally. And so I would go to those places and then, you know, it was only say maybe a 6-hour drive to Atlanta. So it's not far to go to Atlanta. Just like Chris is down near West Palm, closer to, you know, South Florida area. It's only like maybe a 5-hour drive from where I live in Florida to where Chris is.
They're gentrifying that whole area, by the way. That area Elle was talking about, that whole Norcross area. They're gentrifying all of that area, and I think crime is going up in Buckhead now. So we'll see how that plays out. But you know, the rich white people don't really like all that crime, so we'll see.
Mm-hmm. You see Elle, funny. She's like, sorry to interrupt. I'll be good now. Oh, please. And I wanted to go back. I saw that one for Assange. Let me go back and read that one. I have concerns about releasing Julian Assange because he leaks, as opposed to Gravel. I'm gonna read these leaks on the floor of the Senate. Wow, AOCIA. I love that. That's nice. One of these days we're gonna have to get shadow banned. We gotta get shadow banned on here. I mean, gonna have a definitely fun conversation with him. But let's go on ahead and Chris already kind of brought it up a little bit, and we've been talking about differences in certain places. Why don't we talk about Sunrise a little bit? Well, for those who are not familiar with the details about the building and the collapse and all that, Chris, could you kind of lay it out for everybody so they can kind of have an understanding first of what all and so on and so on.
Well, that was down in Surfside, Sunnyside. I keep saying Sunnyside, not Queens. Sunny Isles Beach, Florida, which is down there in Miami. So I've been watching some of the stories about, or some of the theories as to what happened, right? I would just like to say, you can rule out, I know everyone likes to be conspiratorial at times, but so do I. But in this particular case, I would rule out any crazy conspiracy, only because of, if you know anything about Sunny Isles Beach, Florida, the main demographic there are Jewish people. We know they have a very protected status, not just here in Florida, but in the country and throughout the world. It just is what it is, right? Imagine if this was some real foul play. It would be treated much differently. There would be troops mobilizing, there'd be drones flying, there'd be attacks already. People would be locked up, So if you think it's terrorism or anything like that, rule that out, because there would have been a response. Second, I know a lot of people are into climate change and they want to use this to point to climate change as a reason for, this happening. I wouldn't even say it's even climate change. Look, they did the inspection on the building. They saw something was wrong. If you know anything about condos and condo creatures or condo commanders or whatever you want to call them, the boards put out, the boards will say, look, we have these repairs to make. We're going to levy assessments against the owners of the individual units. Now, everyone is pushing back because they don't want to pay for it. So as everyone is beefing with the board and they're trying to decide what amount to put on the assessment, nothing is happening. So whatever architectural flaw they had in that particular building, it was just getting worse without the work being done. So over time, what happens? You had this tragedy happen and half the building collapsed. So I just think this is just a matter of bad architect work and also just not maintaining the building as you should. I mean, it's not anything more than that. Unfortunately, an uncle of mine, he works for a property management company. The VP of his company lived on the 9th floor of that building. So, him and his wife, they haven't been hurt. They hadn't been heard from in a couple of days. So safe to say that, they're buried under there somewhere, unfortunately. So, shout out to them, RIP to them, condolences and all the rest of it. But I know this is not a false flag. It wasn't fake. It wasn't, it's not 9/11. That's all I'm trying to say. We should not make it seem like it was 9/11 all over. So with that, I'll let somebody else jump in.
Well, I would like to jump in. The comparison to Grenfell Tower a couple of years ago, that needs to stop. Because Grenfell was a whole bunch of poor people in the UK, right? And we're talking about a whole bunch of rich folk that had their building collapse. They're already going to get a settlement. They're already getting federal aid from Biden. They're getting something. Whereas, you're still you're I don't even think that's even been really resolved yet, and I think that's been like a couple of years. So that comparison needs to stop. That whole rich versus poor thing, it's not the same, because those rich people, they're gonna get something from it. They're gonna be all right. They're gonna be. I mean, I'm sorry it happened to them, but when you heard about the Sunrise building, what did they? And Chris would know this. They evacuated another building, I think that was like similar to it, but didn't pass inspection or whatever, and evacuated the building because of it. I don't know what that building was called, but that kind of forethought usually only really happens amongst the rich and the affluent, not amongst the poor. So I saw the distinction on the news. It's not the same thing. That needs to stop.
Yeah, I've been kind of following it also quite heavily. And there's little interviews which you can look up for anybody who wants to go down any of this conspiracy theory stuff. Honestly, where I've mostly seen that kind of talk has come from the Zionists for the most part. They're the ones who are looking at any kind of angle how somehow it could have been some kind of Arab terrorist. It's not. I mean, 2018, 3 years ago, they notified these people of the problems that were going on there. I watched a video of one of the maintenance men talking about how they had just water flooding in the parking lot that was below the pool, how it was literally cars were floating. And now some people try to say, oh, well, maybe it had something to do with the pool. It had nothing to do with the pool. That water was not pool water. This was salt water. Now, you can believe that it came in from some storm or rain some kind of weird way, but somehow salt water was getting into their surface over and over and over. And that's salt water. What happens, because structural engineer, he was kind of explaining it, and I kind of knew some of the stuff, but it was good to see somebody who specialized in it actually explain it out. He said what happened basically is with that water, which was flowing in, that salt water, it has to go somewhere. So what happens is when there's a little open area with that concrete that sits around the rebar, what happens is that salt water attracts to that rebar, and what it does, it makes it expand. And as it goes up, it's almost like that metal beam is sucking the water up like a straw. And as it sucks it up, it expands the metal, and then it cracks that concrete that's, oh, let me turn my camera back on. It cracks that concrete, which is around that beam. And so what it's doing is as it goes up little by little by little, it's cracking the whole way up. And so it's weakening the pillars and the load-bearing structures in the building. And so that's what was continuously happening. So even when like a big chunk of concrete would come out, they would come and plaster all up. It doesn't matter because that moisture is already seeped in to those beams. And what you would need to do, you'd have to go in, actually, find the area which hasn't, the water hasn't started seeping up to. And you would have to actually cut that area out and repair it. You would have to actually figure out where the water's coming from, stop the new water from coming in, and go through each one of those condos and fix it. Brian asked where those condos were at. They
were condos.
Were they north of Miami?
It was condos.
North of Miami?
No, that's Miami, Sunny Isles Beach. It's kind of like on the north side, like I guess you would say north, but yeah, they were condos. Mm-hmm.
And that's another thing that they said about that with the what was going on is you could tell one side of the building was getting the flooding and one side wasn't. The north side, we're not getting any of the flooding, and that's the side which didn't collapse. The other side, which actually collapsed, was the side which was receiving all the water. One of the maintenance guys, oh shit, we got my buddy Steve's in the house. Steve says hello. Me and Jones, we thinking about dropping it. You already know you're welcome. Come on in. Right now we're talking about the Sunrise collapse. We talked about home run for
Surfside Market, Surfside.
Surfside. I get it mixed up too. I know you did it.
I know, that's why I just wanted to help. I just wanted to help you out because you said it a couple times. So I'm like, let me just help him out.
But yeah, I mean, I get those mixed up. It's the sunrise down there too, so it gets easy to get all that shit mixed up. For me, it's all the same shit. When Emmanuel was talking about them seeing the stuff going on in another building, and they were like, "Oh, well, maybe we should evacuate." Well, the reason why is because a lot of these buildings in these areas have been getting these same warnings, and so now they're freaked the fuck out. And we have a tropical storm. I haven't talked about that much. A tropical storm is sitting off the coast coming, and they don't know what the hell is about to happen. So this is about to get really interesting. Oh yeah, Glory was on fire at the rally. That's the reason why I decided. I was like, I need to go say something. Glory was going in. I mean, a lot of props to her. I love that girl's passion. I mean, so got to give respect to somebody who goes that hard for a cause. Walking around in the hot sun and all that. But yes, they slow news. They just shout out to them in general. They really have been really pushing this cause, and if it wasn't for them and for people like Misty, and I always screw up and forget the name of her channel, but Misty Winston over there, she has a channel. I believe is it the Assange Vigil? I don't quote me. My apologies, but she definitely is putting in a lot of work, and I see Franco was out on the East Coast also putting in some work on the Assange home run for Assange. And then I know Steve literally just got off the plane. Like he was, I believe, in Denver last, or was he in DC? I'm not sure. My man has been all over the place, really putting in the work for this. So, shout out to them over there. They really have been busting their hump. The building should have been condemned because they knew it had foundation and structure issues, but ignored it for years and building collapses. That is what goes on in Florida, Brian, believe it or not. Like I talked about on the last show, I literally had a mayor tell me, action for Assange is Misty's channel. My apologies. And thank you, Shadow Band. I've literally seen like blueprints written in crayon in Florida. They don't care a lot of times. That's crazy. Whoever built those buildings should be held accountable. It's not even really who built the buildings. It's the fact of the maintenance issue. They see that there's a problem and they're not handling it. I mean, me and Chris were talking about this a little bit. I'll go ahead, Chris.
No, I was just going to say, piggyback off what you just said. It was about the maintenance. They chose not to keep up with the building. So this is what happens when it's just like a vehicle, like Marcus and I was talking about. You just don't put gas in the car and think like it's going to be okay for the whole lifetime that you have the car, for the car's lifetime. You have to change the tires. You're going to have to take care of the brakes. You're going to have to change the oil. You're going to have to do these things to keep the car up and running. If you think that you're just going to be able to just put gas in the shit and keep going 20, 30 years, it's not going to work. Oh, shit. What's going on, y'all? Gang.
What's up? How you doing, Marcus? It's been too long.
What's up, guys?
Far too long. It feels like, man, I haven't saw y'all in years. I mean, I got Grays coming in now. How are we doing over there? How are we doing? Oh yeah, let everybody know, especially like Glory reminded me earlier, bring up Commander X more. I haven't been talking as much about Commander X, and it really needs to be talked about. So, Glory, can you kind of fill everybody in on what's going on with Commander X?
Yes. So basically, he has the biggest thing in that case right now is he has a court appearance scheduled for July 20th at 9 a.m. Pacific time at the district court in San Jose. And there will be actions around that, specifically in Santa Cruz and at that court in San Jose. Again, July 20th. And then also we've heard updates from meetings that X was able to have with his lawyer Jay Rorty and his sister Amy Beth, and both of them said that he looks okay, that he's kind of ready to fight, and he's definitely far, very far from giving up, and also sends messages of solidarity to Julian Assange, because he also wants us in our messaging to keep bringing up this kind of overarching war on WikiLeaks and war on information that the Biden administration is doing here. So, yeah, that's kind of what I can think of for a while. That's kind of what I can think of for recent updates as well. And also, we're trying to figure out ways to be able to send money to X, because even though we don't have to worry about the defense funds, we do have to. He does need cash and books. So, yeah, we're trying to figure out how to do that because it's intentionally complicated.
So wait, I mean, I'm trying to tell everybody that Commander X also, this isn't like something that's new. Commander X has been incarcerated for a while. Like, I mean, and this is kind of something that's kind of flown under the radar. I mean, this is like one moment he was free, next moment he's locked up. But this has kind of been going on for quite a bit of time now. Has it been a couple of years now?
One more time, the asylum?
Yeah, he got it in. What's the exact date he got it in?
2019.
2019?
2019.
And
I think it was November or December of 2019. Jeez.
Yeah, because I was like, I know he was free not that long ago, but all of a sudden he was locked up, and it wasn't very much explanation for why he was being locked up all of a sudden. I see we got Josh in the house. Hey, Josh.
Josh Davis.
Josh Davis.
Oh yeah, we got the family here tonight. I'm loving the energy. Another thing, you actually got to sit down with Assange's parents. Can you share some of that message, what they wanted to, speak out to us, and some of the things which they encouraged for us to do for their son?
I mean, show up. Bug everyone. This isn't a case where politicians are going to lead the way. And I know that may sound rare, surprising, but I mean, here in the U.S., we really don't have anyone in elected office that's willing to speak out for Julian Assange. There was, a little bit during the presidential election on the part of Tulsi Gabbard, fallen by the wayside now that she's no longer in office. Justin Amash no longer, or if he is, he's fucking not talking about it. Massey no longer in office. So in Europe, there are a number of parliamentarians that have recently been screaming their heads off about Julian Assange and demanding he be released, demanding to see him in Belmarsh. The Belmarsh prison is blocking elected members of parliament from seeing Julian Assange right now. That is insanity. And a week ago, I was in Oakland at the Islamic Cultural Center for the Home Run for Julian event there. And the dude who organized it is in his 80s. His name's Jeff Mackler. He's 34 years into free Mumia activism. He got Mumia to record a statement before this event. I got to play it. And the overlap between these two cases is something that isn't necessarily talked about all that often, but when you get around people that are active in the Free Mumia campaign, in that movement, everybody knows, and it's a conversation about more or less, certainly kindred spirits, if not very similar individuals. And we've got Mumia sitting as the longest serving political prisoner. And we've got Julian Assange now facing 175 years for taking basically like the foundational groundwork that Mumia and a handful really of other incredibly brave journalists laid out, and then taking that concept and turning it into, in the era of the internet, the primary and virtually only source for the kind of information that changes governments, changes political landscapes, changes future events and how information is handled, period. And it's wild that we don't have more people in the streets for either of these men. Glory said this before. The movement that freed Mandela is going to be what it takes to free Assange. So, and the same applies for Mumia. Like, the activism around Mumia, like, ebbs and flows, and it builds up, now during period.
It's like 39, it's like 38, 39 years in the making, trying to get Mumia out of prison, you know what I'm saying? I remember as a kid, like, my mom saying to me, like, this guy's in prison, he doesn't belong there. Like, I probably got in trouble because I was always getting in trouble as a kid. So part of my, one of my projects was to do research on Mumia Abu Jamal. I had to be like, 12 years old, writing a project on Mumia,
My first protest, sorry to cut you off, wasn't a protest.
Yeah, like, and it's unfortunate that it happened in the state of Pennsylvania too, because a lot of them get to appeal to that Joe Biden base, if you will, in Pennsylvania when the subject of Mumia came up, so they could use his incarceration and their willingness to keep him there as to show their voters that they are too tough on crime like their Republican counterparts. So he's just been used as a political piece for my whole life. You know what I'm saying? It's really unfortunate. And unfortunately, it seems as if the same thing is going to happen to Assange. You guys mentioned a couple of the Congress people who no longer are there, or those who aren't speaking on him anymore. Basically, get the fuck in line. If you talk too much, not even, you know what? It's beyond Assange, right? At this point, you just cannot talk about the military misadventures, the money that goes into this, the people who receive the money around the world. So there's multiple reasons why Assange just happens to be the object that we're all talking about, but it's so much deeper than just Assange when it comes to this, especially for the elected members of Congress.
Well, and on that note, I'm gonna share screen here for a minute. This is White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki.
She's so annoying. Marcus, you want me to add it? You got it? Oh, okay, we're good.
So the president ran on and won the most votes of any candidate in history on the platform of boosting funding for law enforcement, after Republicans spent decades trying to cut the cops' programs. We'll hear this right meow, but I mean, y'all. I want to up the volume.
And the president ran on, most importantly, did not run on defunding the police. He's always opposed defunding the police. I'll also note, because you've asked this question before or a few times over the last several days, that when we talk about individuals in Congress and their support for funding or opposition to funding for the police, I think what the American people are most focused on is how people vote, what their record is, which is a public record. And I will note that, well, the president ran on and won the most votes of any candidate in history in a platform of boosting funding for law enforcement after Republicans spent decades trying to cut the cops program, which again is public record. We don't need to undervalue the intelligence of the American people. The president ran on increasing that funding. It's in his budget. In President Trump's budget, he significantly cut that. So that's a change. And the president.
How do you get paid to say absolutely fucking nothing? I need somebody to explain that to me. That was nothing. That was literally nothing. It was just nonsense.
Look, you know, look, to use one of her favorite phrases, there's no need to circle back to that, right? We just leave her alone.
Well, you see, I'm at the end of the day, what it's about is it's about people and people's ability to connect as human beings on a level to where equity can be achieved through people coming together and just striving to achieve those ideals that make us so uniquely American.
It's Trump's and then to talk about, oh, Trump cut the budget for cops, to sit there and like this, the same you talking about the same guy who was like, yo, hit that head on the car as you put them into the back of the vehicle, right? He's the same dude you telling me is like soft on crime, who was telling you to who was telling the cops, urging the cops, yeah, rough them up a little bit more. Let's have a few more Freddie Grays out here, right? That's the guy who was soft on.
Right, and saying, well, look, the American people aren't dumb. They can see for themselves that police budgets got cut under Republicans, knowing full and damn well that it was Democrats paying lip service to well, let's be fucking honest, a black voter base each and every time while they were fucking writing legislation that allowed for direct military surplus funding that had nothing to do with police budgets. And so there are multiple ways that like Democrats postured in order to make it look like they were for demilitarizing or in some aspects defunding the police. They had a huge fucking thing about it just last year. Jim Psaki knows that like last summer, right, or well, I guess last fall, but that was all anybody could talk about was defunding the police, and there was legislation introduced to do some shit like that. And so when legislation like that slips in under a Republican administration, the Democrat that's, so pro-cop that they put on the ticket for the presidential fucking nomination, the guy who wrote the 1994 crime bill, and a fucking cop. That's how pro-cop these pro-cop motherfuckers are. Like, they can then point to the Republicans and go, oh yeah, they're just soft on crime now. I don't know what happened to them. We used to have an understanding and we could communicate. We thought we knew who they were. That kind of bullshit. And abolish politicians, 100%.
Yes.
Agree.
Look, Elle has jokes. She's trying to get me triggered because she knows I hate that. We'll circle back to that Saki does, whatever her name is. And here go Elle to we'll circle back to that one. No, we won't, Elle. We're not circling back anywhere. We're moving forward.
There you go, Elle.
So stupid.
You hear it, Chris? Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's funny. Like I kind of thought that's what that was, but I wasn't sure. And then when I saw Chris's face, I kind of got sure real quick. But I was wondering also, it's kind of crazy. with Biden and like his approach towards, like, I wonder now, honestly, like, who is the next person that we're gonna have to be watching out for? Because knowing how Biden is, he's gonna take that same approach the Obama administration did, and anybody that they think is, I guess, and I call it just basically embarrassing them. They don't want anybody to see their flaws and all the horrible shit they actually do. And so when they get a little embarrassed, they got to go destroy somebody's life. And so I wonder whose life is coming next in a sense. Is it going to be somebody within, the ranks of a whistleblower, a traditional sense? Or is it going to be one of these independent content creators or journalists who they run across some kind of story and they really try to put it out there and gets a little bit of steam, and now they're pissed off because now it's embarrassed them and got out to large masses. I mean, what's some of your thoughts?
Marcus, real quick, I just wanted to say, we know when the whistleblowers blow the whistle on Democrats, they end up dead in really nice suburbs in Washington, D.C., right? And then you can't ask questions about it because then you're all right-wing conspiracy theorists. You know what I'm saying? But, a robbery and dude has all his shit still on him, But so I just wanted to say that's what happens to whistleblowers when they, turn on Democrats.
Who was that last? Wait, who was that last?
The FOIA documents released about the Seth Rich investigation, and everything is redacted. It's like, for a botched robbery, y'all trying to keep an awful lot quiet here. That's all I'm saying.
And the thing about it, that should be something which, okay, it's just a robbery, right? Well, botched robbery. Why does anything have to be redacted at all? That should be the real question. Like I brought out to people earlier with Bernie. Bernie likes to call out a couple of billionaires' names, but he won't start calling out all the billionaires' names. He knows not to go that far. And like I was talking about earlier with Mike Gravel and the Pentagon Papers, the whole Assange thing is the same situation because all he did was receive information and release information which he felt was troubling that he thought the American people should know. I don't really see any difference between that and Assange. And the crazy thing about it, I was thinking about this over and over because Misty pointed this out. She said, think about it. They are literally taking, American law and trying to apply that on somebody who's a citizen of another nation. I mean, Steve laid it out like probably, best in understanding. You got an Australian whose newspaper is like through an Icelandic source who was living in where I can't remember which country the consulate was in at the moment. Sorry. And he's being arrested by Great Britain, trying to be extradited to America. I'm like, that doesn't make any damn sense at all. And if we allow the United States to get that far into, blanketing their laws on the other countries, you're going to start seeing extradition of journalism all over the place. Ecuadorian, thank you. Oh,
look, they were so thirsty to catch. Look, they were so thirsty to catch Assange. They grounded the damn plane of the Ecuadorian president when he was trying to leave. What was it, England, right, or was it some other place in Europe? I think it was England, but I could be wrong. But anyway, they grounded his plane just so they could search the shit to see if Assange was on there. But for whistleblowers, stop running to European countries. They're not going to save you. All right? Try going elsewhere in the world. Maybe where there's more melanated people. I don't know. But stop going to Europe. Because, look, Snowden, you're stuck in Russia, and it's cold as fuck there. Go someplace where it's nice. You get a tan, switch your description, and maybe you'll be all right. But that should be the lesson for all whistleblowers. Stop going to Europe.
Well, I mean, and remember, like, it was in Western Europe where Evo Morales' plane was literally grounded because of rumors that Snowden was on that plane. I mean, at the end of the day, as much as the West pretends to care about these freedoms, if the U.S. wants to do something, they'll fall right in line with the United States. So, yeah, it's about when you seek asylum like that, you have to be careful in your selection. You have to find kind of a country that would be sympathetic to you and be able to defend itself from the U.S. So, Argentina, yeah, sure.
Oh, the only problem I would say with Argentina, Argentina.
That's straight up Nazi town, kid.
I know.
That's why
I know.
Argentina's a bunch of like former Nazis. Look at that. That's the only place in South America where you won't find a Rodriguez or Hernandez, right? That you'll find like
or if you do, they gotta use sunblock 1000.
Bruh, it's
exactly.
Great place for Nazis. I mean, if your last name is Mengele, then sure it'll work. But I mean, otherwise, I think you might be more in luck with a place like Venezuela.
Assata Shakur. Look, Assata Shakur is still alive in Cuba. So yeah. I'm just saying.
Bro, Cuba.
She's fine.
I say go to China. I mean, they're not going up in China to take you. I mean, unless they got Batman on the squad, and I don't see that happening. But can't go to places like Argentina because you gotta think about the areas where European colonization had the most effect. The places where they still have footholds and are able to just kind of go back and forth from Europe to South America, ex-nay on them places. And in all honesty, besides the language barrier, you get down there and it literally is like being in a Western country. I mean, all the customs, the holidays, the traditions, you basically are in Germany for, Spaniards. And that's the only real difference. You got to go to a place you got to go to one of those countries that has a double middle fingers up for the U.S. I mean, you got to go to like Thailand or some shit where they're like, fuck the U.S. We don't care about their laws. Singapore.
Singapore. And look, since we're talking about like the international community, I think we should mention that Canada's little like facade is being removed, huh? Because they're doing a whole bunch of look. You come to find out, everyone's like, "Oh, Canada, they're so nice. They're not like U.S. Blah blah blah." And then you come to find out that they're fucking murdering children, burying them under buildings, just like they do here. So and of course,
freak me the fuck out, man. I'm like, wow. It just kept getting worse and worse.
My co-host for too long.
What do you say?
Oh, I didn't hear something about I don't want to abandon my co-host for too long, but I mean, yeah.
But you holding it down, though. You're doing your thing, so it's all good.
Yeah, I know. I'm doing
great.
Because I know.
But Marcus, you just want to break. Marcus, you just real quick want to tell everybody what's going on with Canada, real quick, since we mentioned it.
Oh yeah, I did release. I did a story on it earlier. It was found 182 child bodies of indigenous children. They've been missing for quite a bit of time. For those who do not know about the boarding schools for the indigenous people, Native Americans, many were forced into these boarding schools, whether they were in what would be so-called the United States now, and they were forced into these boarding schools all over the place. And many stories happen, about kids who are always missing. And it gets into adoption and other things. That's a different subject, which I'm going to go into that probably maybe next week. But they found 182 kids. Right before that, they found like 250 at another location, a mass grave full of kids. And so it's starting to seem like every couple of months they're finding mass graves of kids from these boarding schools.
Sorry,
Oh no, go ahead, El.
that was a mistake. Like when they make a video, like automatically playing when you go to a website. I was just getting a source, and then that happened. Sorry.
Oh no, you're good. Go ahead, Chris.
No, just it's typical because it's the same thing we see here. It's the same thing we've seen here in relation to the indigenous population and Africans who were brought here early. They just don't give a fuck. But but to add a little conspiracy shit into the mix, if you notice those locations in Canada, they are I think they're visited quite often by members of the royal family. They have very, very close ties to the royals there. And we already know about those people. We don't really need to get into too much detail about them. But we already know they're grimy individuals, and we know that they will abuse children in the blink of an eye. So if you feel like diving down that rabbit hole, you can look at the Queen of England and her ties to those boarding schools and the rest of the royal family. It's real nasty.
I think they desecrated a statue of Queen Victoria not too long ago, right, in Canada or something like that, right? I was like, it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, there was a protest and they tore down the statue of Queen, whatever her name is. I don't pay them people no mind. I don't know their names like that, but I really don't. And, there's no monarchy here, so they could get slapped in their face just the same as anybody else.
But we do have like quasi royalty.
Yes.
Our celebrities have become like minor royals. The like Fallout, Duke, Duchess, Earl, whatever, Baron, like Countess, that are so far removed from any actual seat of power, but are just so inherently spoiled, fucking generational wealthy that they've achieved this sort of royalty status, and we have oligarchs, so. It's kind of like royals, except for feudalism now is less direct.
Presidents are related.
It's true, but you have to be the correct celebrity, though. It's just not all of them. It has to be the right ones. You have to, like the Tom Hankses of the world, the Alyssa Milanos, those kind of schleps, those kind of people. If you toe the line, then you're okay. The moment you get kind of outspoken or something, either you disappear or your jobs dry up. Thomas from Oklahoma said 50,000 missing children in Canada, 20,000 in the USA. The governments have records of missing children. They just don't know what happened to them. Last seen in boarding schools. Of course. I'm telling you, children don't go missing. The elite kidnap them.
And another
dude, Shadowban Refugee in the chat has a lot to say about that for all of the right fucking reasons, because he lives right by one of the reses in New Mexico where a fuck ton of indigenous girls and women go missing. Like at a rate that makes the ones up north like seem still tragic, but significantly less tragic. And you only hear about the reservations that are up in like the Dakotas and Canada, shit like that, and you very rarely hear about the reses down in like Oklahoma, New Mexico, shit like that. Mm-hmm. Because red state, so fuck them. Mostly. Or not the right kind of optics, because it's much easier to make fun of, not make fun of, but much easier to like look at the states up north as like more, I don't know, easier to point the finger at, I guess, or easier to make like a symbolic, as small as it is, sort of, hey, look, we're trying to do the right thing by highlighting these murdered and missing Indigenous women and children, when there are just vast swaths, I'm assuming globally, of Indigenous populations that, for whatever reason, get completely swept under the rug when people talk about the global child rape trafficking network and the global, the sex slave trafficking network. And this is something that has really existed since the dawn of time, but in the modern era, it's assumed to be the single largest industry globally. And that is nightmarish. Sex trafficking, number one cash crop globally.
And the sad thing about it is, unfortunately, it's something that the elites take advantage of. Like they love these broken homes where a kid is 12 years old and they're running away from home. They're like, that's just another potential victim. Well, I guess for them they're not victims. I guess potential. I guess what is it? Sacrament or whatever they decide.
Service.
Product.
Commodity.
Yup.
Well, I mean, I remember I was going to this
Item.
It was in Europe, and it was talking about like a lot of the high profile like child sacrifices where like kids were missing and stuff like that, and like how they went through like very exquisite, like horrible ceremonies where like they tried to exact as much pain out of this kid before they would die and things like that, and they believe that that kid's pain fueled some kind of power or magic that help with some kind of success or whatever. And we always think back to, you go back to many of these old traditions where they would sacrifice, an animal or a lamb or people, or sometimes even in the tribe, like they would have designated people that would say, okay, if we have to sacrifice for, say, war, I will be the next sacrifice up. I mean, and I think those twisted ideologies and mindsets have continued with those same elites, because I don't think it's some kind of situation where the elites were up here and then they lost and they new elite. These kind of people who have been at the top, they've been at the top for a long time. And that's the reason why I believe that they're still doing a lot of the same shit that they used to, because it's literally the same damn people. They've just passed down ideology and thinkings.
Do you think that that's where like the original concept for adrenochrome came from, outside of Hunter S. Thompson, like taking something and running with it, where it's the stimulation of like, the bone chilling fear that puts the spike into the pineal gland? I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, the reason why I would agree with that point of view or looking at it that way is because if you look at what happened, especially during the transatlantic, in particular, what was done is there was a lot of experimentation. Like a lot of people don't think about, like they think about like the slavery out in the field and all that, but they don't think about a lot of times when some of these like supposed doctors were taking women in and deciding to start dissecting them while they're alive and experimenting. This kind of stuff happened. Yeah, the Nazis did some stuff like that. The Russians did stuff like that in their gulags. This is stuff which happened, a lot of different elites have done this as they have conquered another, group of people. And this was done in Puerto Rico. One of the doctors was considered like a famed, like, in I guess, important or relevant doctor in like recent history. They just found out, like, all of a sudden, oh shit, He killed like 8 Puerto Rican women on purpose and wished that he could have killed more while he was sterilizing them and trying to do a whole bunch of shit. And so the fact that these elites have always had the mindset of trying to like take you apart. Like I look at a good example parallel, Sigmund Freud. Sigmund Freud was trying to dissect us mentally, and some of these other people were doing it literally. I mean, guys, you guys got any take on what Steve was asking?
No, me. I mean, I think the one I was going to say, you know, when you're so powerful and you're above the law, literally, the only thing left for you to do is to try to play God. And it seems that all these people have this severe God complex, and it leads them to do the most foul shit that you can think of to human beings, from children to like abusing children to sterilizing adults to blowing people up, right? It's crazy. But you know, we kind of just sit around and we kind of take it, but there's got to be a point whenever you got to start punching people in the face. That's what I'll just leave it at that, right?
I'm not like laughing at anything you say. Pasta's loud ass is up there being ridiculous. So sometimes it just breaks the
If you see us giggling during like really just random moments that don't make it out of context, moments that don't make any sense, it's probably from that.
And while you're at it, yell up to Pasta and tell him, "Damn, that burger was good." Just tell him that burger was good. Yeah. Going ahead, El.
Oh yeah, adrenochrome is real, but I feel that based on the evidence or lack thereof, that they kind of used that to push the Q people to believe even more crazy shit. Even if it is real, it's always going to be connected to Q and their stupid fucking psyop, which I'm so over. And I was even accused of being
No. Marcus. I'm sorry. Shit. I thought I was.
What's up, guys?
Marcus would like to communicate something to you.
Do you need me to get out in front of the camera or no?
You could lean.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Lean in.
Sure.
Lean back.
Oh
Lean back. I'm sorry I had some sangria.
It's all right. I just downed up here myself.
This is like not acceptable, fat boys. Ah!
Ooh, we got Pasta joining. Oh,
What's up, everybody?
Pasta from the Convo Couch.
Hey, Pasta.
Does
Hi, everybody.
so much great. And I was able
on
to
the
have
phone too.
great, delicious. I'm not gonna let Steve say his little dirty comment from earlier, but the burger was delicious, my man. Vegan burger.
Thank you so much.
And your little, I gotta figure out your little recipe that you had on the little tomato jelly. That was
tomato jam. Yeah.
Tomato jam. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Glory, did I tell you it was made with garlic?
The tomato jam and the garlic aioli and the onions sauteed perfectly.
Yeah. That was tomatoes with garlic. There you go.
Yeah.
It was a roasted garlic aioli, tomato jam. You know, you don't want to do put out the lettuce and the tomato and the avocado and the onions on a barbecue. It's like the flies are around. Everybody's got to be just messing over that crap. So you have a burger that's just ready to go. And you have all those beautiful characteristics. So you have that garlic aioli, the tomato jam. Steve, did I tell you how to make the tomato jam?
He's described this 17 times.
Didn't you like the way the onions were on the burger and the cheese melted over the burger? I mean, come on. Technique.
Well, go ahead. Give us. We're gonna have a little break, a little cooking session. Give us the recipe out here because we got plenty of people that are definitely gonna want to try this.
You just roast garlic in the oven. It's very easy to roast garlic in the oven. You lower the oven down to 250. If you have garlic in the little vacuum sealed things, you just open them up, put a little olive oil, let them roast slow and low for a couple hours. If you have the whole heads of garlic, all you have to do is cut the ends off, do the same thing, and then you can squeeze the garlic out like toothpaste. So you just roast that garlic. You mix it with your veganese or your mayonnaise if you're doing it with mayonnaise. I do it with veganese. And you can either put it in the Ninja and bullet it up with a little lemon squeeze, or you could kind of mash it with your hands if you don't have a bullet, squeeze the lemon and mix it together. It's just those 3 ingredients. Of course, a little salt and pepper. So then you get your and that's when you ate that burger, Marcus. Like when you were done, that buttery taste, that garlicky mayonnaise taste that was left behind, that was the love and the time made from the garlic aioli. Now that sweetness you tasted when it went in your mouth, the little sweet, the sweet with the heat, that's the tomato jam. And what I did was since I love my family.
As long as you don't have it drizzling down the side, right?
Yeah, you got that too.
Not dripping, then you're good. Okay, make sure you clean your mouth first.
Yeah. Tomato jam. I boiled the tomatoes, then put them into an ice bath so I can peel the skin. Then I chopped them up, put them in the pan with a ton of chopped garlic, a little brown sugar, a decent amount of brown sugar, a little cayenne pepper, a little chili powder, a little Worcestershire, a little Tabasco, and I cooked that down. And then I hit it with a little lemon squeeze at the very end to balance out acidity. So that when you bit into the burger, you taste that sweet but tomato-iness. It's kind of like that just beautifulness as you bite into that burger with that cheesiness. And those are grilled onions. I grilled those. I put them in a little olive oil. Just put those right there out of the grill on the tin foil. Let them steam. Mix them up. Boom.
I'll trade you.
Look,
I have to trade you. Marcus, I love you. It was great. It was great to meet you today. I don't know why you like the Royals, but not everybody's perfect. Thank you. I know why you like. I saw his Chiefs whistle thing. He had the Chiefs thing hanging out. Come on, man.
Yo, dude, straight up,
I love the chefs.
There are few fans.
Yes. To the heart.
Few fans is loyal. No. As loyal as Chiefs fans, I give them props for that, dude. I've only experienced consistency and like generational knowledge of that football team from like every Chiefs fan I've ever met. And I lived in Kansas City. I was in Westport for a little while, and also in Gladstone, north of Kansas City for a little bit.
Yeah, I'm very familiar.
And fucking dude, my
party.
Huh?
I used to sneak into Westport to go party, so I definitely remember Westport.
Oh yeah, dude. I lived like 2 blocks up from the Buzzard Beach, that bar.
Okay.
And there was a piano bar like right next to it. Across the street, there was a club where every Thursday there was midget wrestling.
Small people wrestling.
Okay.
Small people wrestling? Wow.
Yeah.
But it is Kansas City. That's the kind of shit that they'll do it. And I
spent no time in Kansas City yet in my life.
Bro, they will wrestle.
Zero. I've never been to Kansas City.
They will wrestle a midget in Kansas City, motherfucker.
You gotta go. The one thing about Kansas City, if you've never been there before, everybody has all these things in their head of what they think it's going to be like, and it's nothing like what you think it's going to be like. That's the one thing I'll tell everybody who goes there. It's nothing like what you think it's going to be like, no matter whatever you think.
Superb barbecue. Best barbecue in the United States is in Kansas City. I will fucking Pepsi challenge that shit with anybody. Anybody.
Well, if you listen, if you've seen the articles online this week, look, if you guys seen the articles online this week, they even telling people that you should stop cooking on the grill. It's horrible. I'm like, yo, liberals will ruin every fucking thing. They saying no fireworks, don't cook on the grill. I'm like, yo, y'all just go somewhere. Like, get the fuck out of here, because everything is problematic. You can't say nothing. Like, Marcus, I won't say it. But, you can't say anything without offending everybody. And it's really just, the pushback that's going to come is going to be monumental. Really, it's going to be very much.
Don't say what I know you want to say.
Say it.
We'll talk about that later.
Say it.
You can
Say
put
it.
it in the chat. You can put
Say it.
You can put it in the chat.
I'm loving everything you have to say. Say it.
He will get us taken down right now. He says what we
You know everything. You know every time we get taken down, it's always my fault because I always say some crazy shit.
Well,
So you know I'm not gonna be wild today
Say the wrong thing at the wrong time.
all the time. Emmanuel
All right.
be trying to hold it down.
Okay, well, let me ask then. Back to Kansas City barbecue. Is that mustard base, I think, inside the sauce? Is it a mustard sauce? No mustard. It's apple cider vinegar?
No. It's
It's a vinegar base?
Yeah, well, it is a molasses, a little bit of brown sugar, and a shitload of garlic and bold flavors. A lot of onion, a lot of garlic.
Midwestern-y.
Yeah, because you get a little bit of sweet and a little bit of kick at the same time. Try to blend those together.
And actual molasses, right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But
Well, who's got the mustard? Is that
South Carolina?
South Carolina's the mustard. Yeah.
Well, Florida's mustard also. Because when I was in Jacksonville, they got a place called G.
Yeah, it's Carolina style. Yeah.
But
Texas does what?
Texas does it's similar to Kansas City. It's a mixture of molasses, brown sugar, but a lot of heat. So it's like a sweet heat. 4th of July with no fireworks. What is life? Meanwhile, Raytheon, just another day. Good point there. Well, they blow up enough shit for all of us, so I don't think I need to blow up anything.
Bro, LAPD just randomly bombed the neighborhood a couple days ago now.
And then when you pick me up from the airport, dude.
Oh yeah, but okay, so I picked Steve up from the airport and we were driving on the 110, I think it was, and randomly, like right off the side of the road, a frick ton of fireworks just starts going off right next to the road, mind you, and we're like, oh well, this isn't gonna distract anybody whatsoever.
Right.
Yeah.
On the you know how the exits or the on ramp, like you just sit. Oh, sorry. Yeah, how when you get onto the 110, the on ramps there, you're like, you pull off and you're just here's the freeway, and here's you, and then like here's somebody's house. Well, in the yard, it was a massive thing of mortars, like right on the fucking freeway. And there are people flying down the road, and it's right as it goes from, minimal barrier to concrete barrier and a little bit swervy right at one of those points. So it seemed like they were banking on the fact that they were going to cause an accident. And Jones is like, I wouldn't put it past the LAPD to do that.
Look, I was going to say, after all the bullshit we saw with the protests last year, with cops spray painting their own shit, leading people, bottlenecking people into areas just to shoot at them, like, it wouldn't be surprising at all. They're trash anyway, so we can't put anything past these people and their agendas. I mean, look,
it was the bricks. Down the middle of a stack of bricks. I was like, oh, it is shady ass motherfucker. Like, this ain't that ain't no political motherfucker behind that thing grabbing those bricks.
All right.
Hello, fellow revolutionary. I have discovered a pile of what appears to be possible projectiles at which we could hurl into a small business and or major corporation. Would you like to partake in many felonies with me tonight, sir?
Absolutely. Let's do this, guy. You hear the fireworks going off here, too?
The fireworks.
Literally, it's like fireworks going off all over the place, and there's discussions about it. It's part of the LA culture. All right. Stop complaining about it.
I only complain when it's winter.
Dog.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah. I used to like fireworks until my family got a dog, and like Dobermans are scared of loud noises. So, because we're just like, oh, you know what? Now that I think about it, a lot of animals don't like fireworks.
No, they don't. They don't like them at all.
So,
Who's that?
No,
Hey!
you have to train dogs to not freak out when they hear loud noises. You know, like that's a process, and it's.
So you're blaming the parents of the dogs?
No, I'm saying that like it's a training process to get dogs used to the sound of gunshots, loud noises, shit like that, and it does damage to the dogs. Like it sucks.
orale, Shadow Band's coming.
Shadow Bear.
Hey!
Hey! Orale!
Yep.
Let's go.
Got him.
Wow.
Got him. Got you.
Hey, just so you know, Shadow Band, it's Bill Gates'
Fucking give me that.
And just so you know, Shadow Band, orale!
I know.
What?
He always reminds me it's Bill Gates meats, but the Impossible one sucks. I got to come up with a burger recipe, or we got to find something, stuff like that, shit like that. Yeah. What were you guys talking about before it came down?
Marcus was trying to.
No, we were talking about like adrenochrome and all kind of crazy shit.
No,
right
you were
before
not. You guys were talking about adrenochrome. Wait, Emmanuel. Do you believe in adrenochrome?
Yes.
No.
Oh,
Yes. I ain't there. I believe these guys are pedophiles, but I don't know if they're trying to get adrenochrome. I just believe they just like sleeping with little boys and girls, like little boys and girls. They're just fucking sick. But adrenochrome, even though it was in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, as your lawyer, I advise you not to touch that vial right there. That's adrenochrome.
That's the mythology part of it. Adrenochrome as a substance, it's like liquid adrenaline, extracted adrenaline. That is a thing that exists. That's not to say that there aren't, because again, man, the Emmanuel, what I always tell people about this is that it doesn't matter if we believe that it's real. It only matters if they believe that it's real, because they would be the crazy sick fucks doing it in the first place. So if it's true that power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely, then it isn't out of the realm of reality to see throughout history people going to all sorts of ridiculous measures to gain and to maintain the power. So if there's a group of people that believe that certain rituals within the cult of Baal will allow them to stay in and increase their power, and they believe it, they're going to do that. Just like people do all kinds of weird superstitious rituals all day, every day, and all for the same general reason. Sometimes the people don't believe in it 100%, but the people that are dedicated practitioners to, for example, Santeria, which still exists to this day. Number of practitioners, like a lot of Santeria practitioners, all up and down the East Coast. And it doesn't matter if I believe it's real, because if that person believes it's real, they're going to do those rituals every day. So it's just taking that to, understandably a monstrous extreme. But it's 100% not out of the realm of reality. Not that adrenochrome as a substance actually exists, but that the rituals by which to extract it do exist. And it's the ritual that matters. It's that transference of collective belief into a stated objective And that's essentially all that prayer is. That's essentially all that magic is. It is concentrated belief on a desired outcome, and whatever energy manifested into that is, it increases the likelihood of that outcome being achieved.
Well, and I would always say, like with my Hebrew apologetics page, when I try to go into ancient history and explain some of these ancient cultures, the reason why is so we can understand some of these ancient belief systems also and try to follow it. Because I said, it doesn't matter if we don't believe anything. Everything the elites can believe can be complete nonsense. But if we can understand what they believe in and what they value, then we can understand how they would try to move things. And we have to look at, when you already have all the money, it's not about just getting more money. There's movements that are actually going on, and there's motivations that are making these people do these certain things. And so we got to always try to ask ourselves, why are they actually doing it? It's more than just money and control. They already have that. What are they actually trying to achieve? And like Steve pointed out, they might feel it's increasing their awareness or can extend their lifespan, or the bathing in blood. Some people might believe that could possibly rejuvenate their skin. I don't know. I think that's bonkers and nuts. But I've also seen the Masonic lodges. When you get to the higher levels, they literally have like a pole which you stand in between, and you put your hands on the pole to try to balance your frequency. And so they believe you can modify your frequency to run at a different level. So just some of the crazy thoughts which people with a lot of money that we know these thoughts that these ultra rich crazy fuckers have. What about the shit that they don't tell us? And I think a part of their kick which they get off is some of the shit, even if it's not going to be exactly the way it comes out, or the way they might do it in entertainment. A lot of times they like to mock us by putting shit in entertainment and then eventually trying to achieve it. Like we talked about last week about Minority Report. They brought up Minority Report, that's a movie, but now they literally are trying to log all our information so they can track, everywhere you're going, start predicting what you want to buy, what do you normally shop, do you go straight home, or do you stop by by the pool hall? Do you go and do you stop for a drink in the afternoons? What time do you go to work? Are you late? And so by judging all these things, they're trying to use their way of technology in the place of those oracles to predict our behaviors. And so right now they're doing it with just products, but it's going to start escalating because they've already talked about moving that into police frequencies with the facial recognition software. So I mean, it gets a little sketchy. I know some of this stuff is sci-fi and movie talk, but when you're that loopy in the head that you can play God, some of this shit might be reality for them. That's all I'm saying.
Listen, I understand the psychology. Yeah, and by the way, pre-crime is something that's real. It's coming. It's like already here. It's here. It's pre-crime's here, right? So minority, we're living out Minority Report too as well. And
you know what? You know why we know that, Pasta?
Yeah.
Because we've been reporting on it
since
2019.
Oh,
2019.
I was going to say because we watched Slow News Day. And that's the truth, really. No, that's your area, and that's what the stuff I learned. And you see that, and I understand the psychology behind both what you guys were saying too as well. I wouldn't pass these fucks to do these things and to think they're above human life, and obviously extract this drug by scaring these children half to death. The Podesta kind of video where you don't really get to see him, but you hear him and it's Podesta, and you're saying to yourself, listen, this kid, there's no way this kid's not acting here. That's real fear I'm hearing. That's really what I'm thinking. I wouldn't put it past these people. But the lack of evidence, and I hope that doesn't really kind of upset you, Steve, and want to smack me across the head with a giant mackerel. But sometimes if we don't have the insight to all these things and don't have the proper proof that we need to bring these kind of like ideologies to the tables to say that adrenochrome really does exist and it's being used. I mean, I've heard rumors from right-wingers saying that in China they're doing it for Uyghurs, they're extracting and selling it on the mainland to, actors and Lady Gaga and all this other bullshit. But, I mean, beside the point, it could be used as a diffuser mechanism to take people away from the conversation because it seems so outlandish that other stuff that is really true, they kind of walk away from. Like, you know what I'm saying? They kind of like, they lessen what fucking the Epsteins and the Clintons are doing, whatnot and stuff. It moves them away because they've lumped those topics together. So like the talk about adrenochrome without the proper proof can sometimes backfire. And we know this because in the election shit, when they start talking about if this was Hugo Chavez coming up with this shit, you're like, oh, fucking keep your fucking anti-socialist ideology out of this fucking bullshit right now. You know what I'm saying? When Giuliani's going, you're stunads to think that these illegal immigrants don't kind of vote and change the election, like, asshole. I live in the land of immigrants, and the immigrants don't vote out here. They're afraid to fucking vote. You're just talking bullshit. So, when you talk adrenochrome's right there. That's the one that's right on the fucking edge. If not, oh, you're just crazy and stuff. The one that's the worst is that Donald Trump was recruited to come save us, and he was recruited by a bunch of fucking generals in his next coming of Christ. But anyways, that's my thoughts on adrenochrome, and I'm going to pass it.
It's funny. What they do is they tend to take something very real, and then they wrap it up in bullshit, and then they make you throw away everything altogether. So then you just be like, oh, yeah, well, I can't believe any of it. So as they like to say, you end up throwing out the baby with the bathwater. You know what I'm saying? Instead of just draining the fucking tub and dealing with what you have left, they're like, oh, just like the whole QAnon shit. There were certain things that were being mentioned in there that was legitimate and deserved to be researched, right? But it was wrapped up in so much Trump is going to save the world and protect us from the devil himself that now whenever you just looked at what they was talking about, you're like, yo, y'all so full of shit. Shut the hell up. Get away from me. I don't want to hear it no more. But you as a person have to possess enough common sense and knowledge to like be able to sift through the nonsense to see what's real and what isn't.
Yeah, we do, but most people unfortunately do not. And that's the sad thing. You know what I'm saying? Like we were able to, sort out the baby from the bathwater and go, yeah, this is bullshit, but this is real, this is good. Like this whole push for election integrity, 75% of what's coming out of these patriots is real shit. They ain't all the way there yet, and they're not saying the main things we have to fix, whatnot, because they're driven by their Republican, fucking wannabe candidates that are, establishment assholes that are going to point them in a certain direction. But then they have the 25% of the bullshit, and that allows these people who want to be tribal and want to be leftist to go, you see what they're saying? They're looking for bamboo and fucking paper. They're looking for bamboo and paper. Come on now. These QAnoners, this thing's a fraud. So they
yeah, that's what they do. And, you could just see, like, for instance, when they talk about Hollywood, it's only focused on the celebrities who are politically active and are very much into the Democratic Party politics, right? So it's like, oh, we're only going to talk about, like, Oprah or Tom Hanks, da-da-da-da-da. Motherfucker, who you think owns these studios? Why are you not mentioning their names? Those are the people you got to be worried about. They're the ones who paying the Tom Hanks and the like, so they won't ever mention those people. So again, it just makes it easy just to look at Q and dismiss them because they're such gullible people. But then, after this past year, I have to look at it. Democrats are just as gullible as the Q people. We should put all of them in one fucking group and we should put them all in one group and strap them to Elon Musk's next rocket. And if it don't come back and it blows up, that's not my fault. I had nothing to do with it. Elon built a defective product.
Yeah. I don't know. The Russia Gators are crazy too as well. Gentlemen, I have to go upstairs. Thank you so much. Marcus, it was great seeing you today. Thank you. Grandma has to wash some dishes and put some tea up. Thank you. Mr. Lawson, it was a pleasure talking to you.
You didn't have to hop on, so I appreciate it.
Same here, man. Thanks.
I did have to hop on. I did. I wanted to too. Thank you so much. All right.
Convo Couch, always welcome here. You guys are definitely friends of the show. We love you guys, and you're welcome over here. So anytime you guys want to pop in,
definitely.
In fact, I'll add you into my DM. I always leave the link in there for all the different content creator friends. So if you guys aren't busy at the moment, you guys can always hop in, even if it's for a couple of minutes or even the whole show. So, I mean, much respect. I appreciate having you on there, Pasta.
Thank you. It was great meeting today. It was a fun time. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Have a great day. Grandma's going upstairs.
Yeah, no, I'm on that too, man.
Yo, he called Chuck
I'm
Norris
not
ninja
gonna
conservative.
go up and participate in a whole lot of discord, but I promise to be able to karaoke. So we're gonna do that.
Yeah.
And we didn't do it. I think the last time we missed.
Hey,
We were gonna
L
do it
wants to say something. Hold on, fella.
Huh?
Oh shit! I'm sorry. We'll make sure to get Pasta on the show. You can talk to him. Oh yeah, we got to bring up. We haven't even talked about the Delta variant at all, or any of the COVID stuff. What have you been looking into, El?
Well, I just wanted to say.
Hey, real quick, let me jump in. I love the fuck out of you guys. You fucking rock. We'll end up being here for like another hour if we don't bounce out now. But thanks for letting us jump in.
Thank you. It was awesome to meet you in person, Marcus.
Nice to meet you too in person. Finally, I was like, oh shoot. I said, how I found you guys when I was coming up to the park. I heard Elle's voice. I was like, where the hell is Elle at? And I saw your hair. And I was like, oh shit, there's Glory. I didn't realize Elle dyed her hair, so she threw me off there.
Oh shit, it's fine. Yeah, no, because anytime I'm out in the sun a lot, and like, because I wear it out a lot, so anytime I'm out in the sun, it naturally gets lighter. So that's where the kind of like lighter tones come in. Yeah.
And I referred some. Remember that young lady who came over and talked to us market? I referred her over to your channel. I shared a video of you guys' channel, so passes the word out. You know, get some more awareness onto Assange and what you guys are doing over there.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, thanks, Marcus. All right, y'all. Peace.
Bye.
Bye.
Good to see you.
Yeah.
So we the last three standing.
Yeah, the last three. Well, Emmanuel haven't.
I figured as much.
He said he was going to try to come back in, so he's just having some problems with his signal. But Elle, yeah, going ahead, I guess enlighten us about the Delta variant.
Well, I didn't get to say that I was gonna bring it back to the QAnon thing and the.
I'm sorry. Yeah, that's right. You didn't get to get in on the QAnon. Yeah, give us some of your thoughts on the QAnon stuff.
I was trying to agree with Pasta and bring it back to like the original thing that I was saying, which was that it was being used to make adrenochrome. I mean, not adrenochrome, but QAnon. Yeah, maybe it was used to push to the QAnon people to make them look stupid because for whatever reason, whether it's real or not, they would be saying it, just like the Trump saying everything, and then it ends up being true, but it doesn't matter at the moment because he's such a racist piece of shit or whatever. Mm-hmm. It would be the same situation where they could just do that, and I was going to agree that was kind of part of the psyop in the first place. And again, we don't have evidence to suggest that it's real. But again, as some lovely person named Shadowband Refugee said in the comments, before I brought it up, Elizabeth Bathory was one of those figures that was rumored to have bathed in the blood of virgins that she killed. So, to make herself look younger. So there is a lot of historical precedence for that kind of theory. Whether it be true or not, it did inspire a lot of stories in pop culture. And that's how myths are born. And used to be that you'd see a myth and it wouldn't be a big deal, but now we have social media and everybody with a myth is the enemy. So if they don't have facts to back up what they're saying, they look like idiots. much as possible now because we are going to get fact checked eventually, so we might as well do it to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
On that note, yeah, Delta variant is the new scare tactic used by virtually every government. Funny how that works. The world government to implement more control and possibly more restrictions. Definitely more restrictions in other countries, not ours. But we just opened up, and you never know when you're going to have to close back down because, we got to worry about this new strain, this new variant, which may or may not kill you. We don't have enough data for that, but we can still scare you with that possibility, even though we have nothing to back it up. That they can do whatever they want with their myths and not back up what they're saying because they're the mainstream media owned by a few corporations. So it's fine for them.
Yeah, I mean, I was telling people, like for instance, like one thing Pasta said earlier, he was like, yeah, the evidence is kind of a thing. For me, the lack of evidence is part of, at the same time, that's even a little weird. That there's like virtually no evidence for any of this stuff. And that to me is even a little bit more weird because of all the people who live on the face of this earth, there's a lot of people. So the probability that you can't find one person who's doing some of this stuff at least once, or one story that's similar to it, that should be even more reason to speculate on, okay, that's pretty odd. There's none of that at all. It's kind of like if you moved into a town and you found out, for instance, literally nobody has ever been a peeping Tom in that town and it's like 500-year history. That would be pretty weird, right? Well, that's the same thing which is happening with a lot of these elites. Some of this stuff that we know, okay, maybe if it's only one, very eccentric, fucking crazy ass billionaire who does it, there's at least one guy who's done it. The fact that you can't find no evidence is the money. That's what I say. There was always evidence. What happens is you have enough money, you make evidence go away. I mean, look at, like, for instance, the John Wick films. John Wick will kill like 20 people who break into his house, pay somebody with a couple gold coins, and now his house is completely spotless like nothing ever happened. I mean, and people think that this stuff is just movie stuff. You don't think these rich, playboys have young women over, they're doing drugs and stuff. Somebody ODs, and then they actually die. They don't save them, and then they have somebody just kind of come clean this up, drop the body out in a field somewhere, and make it as if they were just some kind of lowly, drug addict. I mean, they do this stuff all the time, and they have enough money to pay off governors, senators, and if you pay those people off, you don't have to worry about the random patrolman, because even if he comes across it, he better shut his mouth or he knows what's going to happen to him. So, I mean, that's all they have to do. They get the chiefs and, judges and all these other people involved, which, sorry to say it, a lot of the people who do this shit are those people who would be in those situations. That's part of why they got to those situations. Because they wouldn't have been allowed by the people with the big money to put people who would come after them. I mean, it's just natural self-preservation. You're not going to allow somebody who could possibly take you down to be in a position to take you down. What was that? I guess it was a comment for you, L. Oh, flattened to 300 of 2 weeks to flatten the curve. It's kind of interesting also to me how the moment Biden got in, instantly, he hadn't even done anything. Instantly, everything's just going down. COVID's. And now it's, let's talk about Delta variant. And they make it like, oh, well, this is some kind of different variant. I don't think it is. I think that they just want to change the name so it can look like, well, see, under Biden, he was only in office for like a handful of time, shorter than Trump. And he was able to stop COVID. But now, this variant thing is a whole nother subject. And so you can't blame him for that because Trump let COVID get so bad. But he stopped COVID, though. And so that's a way that they can spin it. So if it gets out of control or goes on longer and longer, a way to still put the blame back onto Trump. You know, instead of just saying, no, this is still COVID. This is still the same shit. It's just different waves, different ways.
Well, we know what they did. One of the first things was they lowered the threshold on the PCR tests. So, you know, no longer were they, you know, running the cycle for what, 45 cycles. They dropped it down to something to where then they could say, oh, now we have all these negative tests, blah, blah, blah. Then you have the variant come in, and so you could just scare the shit out of people. But if the variant is real, it would probably not be as strong as the original virus itself, right? It would probably be a little bit weaker, and it would probably be largely the difference between the two would be so minimal that, you know, it would take just a real professional to tell the difference. Most doctors wouldn't even be able to tell the difference. So again, it's just all fear tactics and shit just to keep us in line and to get as many of us vaccinated as possible. You already know how I feel about this crap, y'all.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to respond to this comment I saw here. It says 100, just like the movie Eyes Wide Shut. These are, I mean, think about it. What happened to, and I guess I won't say what happened. Let's rephrase this. Stanley Kubrick comes out with this movie. Does anybody know how long after this movie Stanley Kubrick was no longer living? Can anybody answer that question for me?
It was a long time, but let me get the actual time period.
I believe it was maybe, what is it, 15 years, I think? It might have been a little longer than that.
I feel like it was less than that. Hold on a sec. Going to IMDb. I forget what year Eyes Wide Shut came out. But it wasn't 15 years before that. Eyes Wide Shut.
I want to say it was like 99 maybe when Eyes Wide Shut came out. So it might be 20 years. Yeah. Might be 20.
It was Eyes Wide Shut came out in 99.
Yeah. What month?
And Kubrick died, what he died, March 7th, 99?
He did, but I'm trying to figure out the month.
Did he die? Did Kubrick die before Eyes Wide Shut?
Well, they used a different version. They released a different version.
Oh, I know they released a different version.
So, yeah, it was released on July 16th, 1999. He was already dead by that point. But I don't know when it was filmed.
Yeah, but that's
it
what...
was in 1996.
You said it was 96?
November 1996 for the filming. So it was right after filming, I guess. So, 1996, November to March 7th. March, November, December, January, February, March. So 4 months late.
And since you're on his IMDb, which movies did he do after Eyes Wide Shut? How many movies did he do after Eyes Wide Shut?
That was his last film.
Kubrick?
Yeah, Kubrick.
Yeah, Kubrick. That was his final movie.
So think about it. We're going on what, a 24-year period. 24-year period. This man decides I'm not doing any more movies. And then all of a sudden, what was it? Right before he decides to do a very cryptic video, making some very, very, very strong accusations. Then he passes away right after that. Now,
well, maybe he was in the club and he got excommunicated when he spilled the secret.
Well, I'll just go on ahead and just put my theory out. My theory is, sorry, I accidentally muted myself. I actually believe that Stanley Kubrick and I believe that their deaths are connected. All right, let's put it that way. And him dying within the window of when that Stanley Kubrick dying within the window of when Eyes Wide Shut was just released. Now, they filmed it, had a complete copy, edited and everything, and they were like, no, you're not releasing this shit. And so it takes a full 3 years before the film finally hits the screen. Now, I can tell you for a fact, and Elle with her background, in Hollywood, she could tell you this also. For one, filming a movie doesn't take a great deal of time. Editing and all that whole process, a lot of times for big budget movies, is done in like maybe 9-10 months. Many of them it doesn't take that long. So let's say roughly a year, all the promotionals, all this stuff, and setting the date. A year is plenty of time for them to do that movie and release it. Why did they take 3 years before that movie finally came out? And then why did he decide, I'm not doing any more movies after that? And then right before his passing, he comes out with a huge accusation. And for those who don't know what I'm talking about in the accusation, he literally made the statement that the United States never actually went to the moon, and that he actually filmed the moon landing. So that's the accusation he made, and he dies shortly after that. I don't know. You guys, everybody has their own common sense on what they trust and believe. And for me, all of that stuff is just really, really sketchy. So if that's not sketchy to you all and that's normal, okay, cool. But it's a little sketchy to me. What are your thoughts? What do you think, Emmanuel?
Repeat the question, Marcus.
About you have Stanley Kubrick dies right around the same time Eyes Wide Shut is in the process of being filmed, and then it's supposed to come out and then edited and then released, and then crap, I'm forgetting the other one's name who made Eyes Wide Shut. Crap, can't remember his name, but you all know what I'm talking about. Wait a minute, somebody's probably helped me in the comments. Kubrick, what he said. He there's a video. I have it somewhere buried in one of my files. For those who don't follow my what I've been thinking with Marcus Cage channel, this is a reason why you probably should. If you go onto that channel, that's where I do most of my research from. If you go through my created playlist, most of that's because you go into most channels, most people don't use playlists. I do. I use it heavily. And so I need to separate all the different information, which I'm reviewing and going through and guiding me to different books I need to look up and whatever. And so I use all these different things, like almost like little help get me down the little morsels to help, get down and find the truth and follow the truth. Well, in one of those videos, he's literally on camera saying, yes, I filmed the moon landing. And so when I used to see videos where the Challenger, it exploded, and now people are talking about, well, look at all these people who look exactly like the people who supposedly died on that rocket ship that many of us saw explode while we were kids in school. How are you going to tell me all these people have, what, twins or triplets, or are they clones? I mean, something is going on. I have my theories. It's pretty clear. But other people can believe what they want. And I believe if the elites, if Kubrick is correct, that means the elites literally have the power to lie about the moon landing. Anybody with that kind of power, you can't put anything past what they'll lie about at that point. Now, I'm not even going into saying that, the earth is flat or anything. I'm just saying, they're saying that he's saying that they did not go. Now, you listen to there's certain scientists, I've heard numerous ones say it. The only one I can come to mind who said it was Bill Nye. But he said, you know, we live in a closed atmosphere. We cannot leave the atmosphere. Now, when they talk about going to space and the space center, there is a certain altitude which you can get to, which is technically space. But as far as like getting out to the Milky Way and all that, they have no technology that can get them to any of that shit.
But you know, we're in 1960s technology was, you know, superior to what we have in the 21st century. So, you know, we were able to go there, you know, do our thing, shoot a couple videos, shoot a couple hoops, you know, swing a couple golf clubs on the moon, and then come back, all the while talking on a landline at the White House. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I guess we just move it backwards in terms of technology, because you know, that's incredible shit. And then we had the camera film the pod as it was leaving the moon too. Like, you know, it rose up as the high, you know, as the ship rose, the camera was rising with it. I'm like, damn, it was really on point. It was really on point. So I don't know. And we haven't been back since. Interesting.
Well, they said it's too expensive to rebuild all the technology.
They're doing a whole space race thing now with I think Bezos went first, and I think Branson, I think Richard Branson's coming up next. So maybe there'll be a rich guy space race next to distract the public. I don't know.
All that is you're just gonna go up with billionaires and sit in the outer atmosphere for a minute and come back down. Go ahead, El.
I have to cut in and say I hate to be a party pooper again, but I gotta fact check your Stanley Kubrick admission of faking the moon landing. There's not really evidence of that. According to, I tried to find a veritable source, and it's newspunch.com. They're pretty good about this shit, and they even have like a whole article I'll put in the
oh no,
chat.
I have the actual. I watched him on camera. I got it in one of my files.
Yeah, but they say in this article, I don't know if this is relevant, but that the dude's name is Tom, and he's pretending to be Stanley Kubrick. So I don't know. That's the update that they left in this article.
It's very convenient. Very convenient.
That's all I could find with the actual dialogue.
Well, and I believe that's and it's just like the same thing with those astronauts. They came up with all kinds. Well, this person had a brother, and the brother just happened to look similar. But this person actually has a twin, and that other lady, she's not. She just looks a lot like her and has the same name, you know. But don't worry about that. And this guy right here, he just has the same last name and looks like him, exactly like him, and he's the same age. But he's not. Just don't worry about that either. It's like. At a point, it's like, do we trust them, or do we look at that their story is just not making sense? Like for me, I've seen Kubrick on interviews numerous times. I don't buy that was faked. I do not buy it faked.
Well, I went right by Snopes and tried to get a different
Snopes. Oh, we gotta love Snopes. I mean, one of these days we need to do like a hard hitting like breakdown of Snopes, because I can't believe how many liberals that still try to walk around and use it as a credible source.
I'm sharing the video from
Okay.
Snopes.
Okay.
But hey guys, look, sorry, I gotta run. I've been feeling like shit last couple days. Like, I need to probably go take some meds or lay down. So I'm gonna catch you guys next time.
All righty, brother. I'm glad.
Ella was good. E,
have a good night, Chris.
Have a good night, Chris. Marcus, hit me up tomorrow though.
Okay, I will.
All right, guys. Ella, have a good one.
Night, Chris.
All right, guys.
All righty, brother.
It's that time again.
Let's see. I see a couple comments in there. Let's see what's going on over here. Let's see what we got here. Yep, we'll never see the director's cut. You damn right we won't. You remember the giant cell phones? Of course. Vampires. Okay. Maybe I missed something earlier in the chat. Didn't NASA say they lost the papers? You'd have to tell me which papers exactly. Most CEOs are already vampire imp. Okay. Maybe Blade is like really real too. I don't know. The Daywalker. Let's see. Let's remember Operation Paperclip, where thousands of Nazi scientists were employed by NASA and the D state. That is correct. Very correct. And a lot of people don't think about that. And they weren't only concentrated in NASA. They were concentrated in other areas too. But they got a lot of attention for NASA because of their rocketry experiments. Where did I leave off? The mummy procession in Cairo was a huge ritual. A few of us felt like an EMF. Stuff. Ronald Bernard, I believe everything he says, much overlooked, says he was asked to kill a child to be accepted into higher echelons of the mob. I believe that too. I mean, I've heard, but in the mob, that's not even controversial. That many hitmen are told to kill children, and whole families for that matter. I'm sure Kissinger replaces. Oh crap! Lost it. Where'd it go? Replaces his blood with his kids. Oh, that's gross. Those clinics are real. But since we do kids donate blood? Since when do kids? Yeah, when do they do? And I don't think that you would need to have a difference between adult blood and kid blood for donations as far as medical usage. So that would be really weird that you're specifying that you want kid blood. NASA said they destroyed the technology to go to the moon and haven't been able to recreate it. Yes, they said they haven't been able to recreate it, and the trillions that they've gotten since they've been open, they don't have enough money to rebuild it either. Or, I mean, that's just nonsense to me. Yes, NASA is bullshit. Which, believe it or not, it is a word that in Hebrew, it's not spelled exactly the same, but it is similar, meaning Nasa or Nasar, I believe, and that means lies.
Yep, I read that.
Yep, that is a fact. Jin Flute says,
Okay, I didn't know that.
full of pedo art and not something guilty till proven innocent. The best assessment, as seen was too. I mean, I'm no Q, but yeah, and that's the thing. We're not saying that Q is wrong on everything.
No.
We're saying that they throw so much at Q and they throw bullshit in there because they know Q people are going to just take it all. They're not going to try to sift through it and try to figure out, is this solid or not solid? They're not going to do that. And when they don't do that, like for instance, the pizza place that they go to and find out, oh crap, this place doesn't have a basement. It doesn't mean that place doesn't really exist. It just means that you followed all the wrong information and it made you look like an idiot instead of proving and verifying before you went out and made such a huge claim, which many of those people do. That's why they look like idiots most of the time. We always try, I feel like at least here on the political matrix, we try to declare when it is a theory that we have personally, or if we have evidence. If we have evidence, we try to produce it, but we try to declare when it's a difference between us giving our opinions and theories versus what the evidence is actually showing. Right, yo?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Let's see, another one. Let's say I have this stuff. It's sent in the poor challenge. Oh man, I don't want to think about that stuff. Yeah, and the voice analysis didn't help. I knew something that worked for Lockheed. He said he got paid to play solitaire for 5 days a week and purposely messed stuff up. the rest of the time to get more funding. They want rockets to fail. Well, I know, for instance, in the military, we literally would have like quarterly type periods where we go out and just blow up shit for no reason. Like shoot a bunch of guns for no reason, expend a bunch of ammunition for no reason. Well, it was for a reason. The reason was so we can get more funding. So that's what they would always do. We had to keep up a certain amount of waste, like literally being ordered to do waste, fraud, and abuse.
Yeah, you had to blow through your surplus, basically, right, Marcus? Yeah.
Like I remember literally dumping whole trays of food when I was mess cranking. I mean, like a day I would down like, and we're talking about like full, like big ass trays that could feed at least maybe, 10 people. And I'm literally throwing away, 6 or 7 of them a day, every day. Oh, we're literally going past some of the most impoverished nations in the world, and we're like, trash. Oh well, screw those people in Africa who could, actually take these meals. Whatever, screw them. Screw these people in the Middle East who could take this. Let's see. Abolished politician says, I knew something that. Oh, already read that one. Jin Flute says, how is it? I agree with Pasta and Steve and Gloria on pretty much everything, and and AI do that. Did AI do that? Oh, well, I mean, we agree with him on a good amount of things. Also, I mean, of course, I feel like when it gets to like, especially us who are commenting on this stuff a lot of times and seeing a lot of the different information and constantly keeping in mind all these different things, we see the same, we see similar conclusions, and where we have what I would say circumstantial evidence or a bunch of circumstantial evidence, some of us might kind of lean more towards it because of that circumstantial evidence. And people like Pasta, who I consider, a legitimate journalist, more straight up. I'm definitely not a journalist, but Pasta is going to try to make sure he's 100% solid. So when he's reporting it, it doesn't take away credibility from, his stance. So even though he might not be 100 all the way with us on some of those things, he sees what we're seeing. And so that little wiggle room of a difference, that's just because he's making sure that he confirms his sources and he's able to go out there 100% and say it without, getting socked back in the face. It's kind of like making sure you throw that punch and you cover up so you don't get hit back. And that's what it is when we try to show our sources. That's that putting that arm up, put the guard up, cover up, because you just threw a punch. And so that's literally what we do every night. We're throwing punches when we're calling out these elites. And so, like L does so great in doing it, producing those sources and double checking us so that we're vetting ourselves always. We're always trying to keep that standard because we know they look for whatever they can use to twist in our words. I was wondering, what else do I have? I think that was about it. I have a interview tomorrow with RJ from Fred Hampton's Leftists. I was wondering, Emmanuel L., you guys got anything you guys want to add? Let the crowd know anything. Any kind of things you guys got coming up that you'd like to talk about, or things you just want to, give them some awareness on?
Elle can go first.
Thank you. Well, I just wanted to say, check out my last podcast, shameless plug. That's not the name of the episode. The name of the episode is Truth Bombs with a hint of morbid sarcasm. I just went crazy on it and did a whole lot of ranting. And so this time I added some timestamps. They didn't end up sounding the same in the same parts in the stream, no matter if I was on the website or in the app of Apple. Then I would have issues with getting it at the right timestamp, so that was a bitch. But I try my best to sync everything, so good luck with that. And also, the next episode is again at the end of the month. It's every month, pretty much at the end of the month now. Is the name. That's the way I do it now. And then also, I'm gonna add a clip on YouTube. I just need to rest a little bit today, and then tomorrow I'm gonna hopefully be able to upload some videos from our lovely adventure today at the Home Run for Julian rally in Hollywood, not Hollywood, Echo Park, wherever it was.
Yeah.
Away from Hollywood, where I had to go. And then just look out for the rants that I post. I don't know which one I'm gonna post yet. Probably the Biden one with the Syrian airstrikes, because I feel like that's really important, and the press really just like glossed over it in the press conference, and it really pissed me the fuck off. So I did a whole rant on that, and I'll put that on YouTube pretty soon. I was gonna do like the Britney one, but like I'm like reacting to Britney Spears, and I'm only saying certain things at certain points, so it's not really that big of a deal, and is not going to really do very well. So I think the Syrian airstrikes conversation with myself or with my audience is a little bit better to listen to. So I'll post that on my channel, aka L Latham, shameless plug, over.
Nice. Well, I mean, it's not a shameless plug here. You're supposed to plug yourself here. That's the whole point. I want more eyes on your channel. I mean, on your podcast. I mean, she drops a lot of information in there. So, guys definitely need to check it out. So let's see. Oh, yeah, I wanted to answer that question. Well, I see abolished politicians answered. Saw us over at Frank's Frank Analysis. And shout out to Frank Analysis. Franco, when he found our channel, one of my videos has really caught his attention, and he wanted to, have a conversation. And since then, we've built a really good friendship. And occasionally he has me on the show, and I appreciate when I'm on there. I get to meet, a bunch of different viewers. And so it's always good to have new viewers coming and especially hop in the comment section right away and having fun going back and forth. Our comment section, when everybody's in there, they love to go back and forth. So I enjoy watching. I try to share as many comments that I can that are kind of fitting with what we're talking about. I don't want to detract or sidetrack too much. Some comments, even though it might seem like it might be a quick, simple question, some of it is not quick or simple. It's so many layers to some of this stuff, especially the way we perceive it over here at the Political Matrix. We're really trying to, lift every rock, leave no stone unturned. So, Emmanuel, what's some of your thoughts?
Okay. I agree with us trying to do our due diligence and trying to make sure everybody's accurate. And of course, I like the I like the fact that our circle is expanding and we're getting more people like Steve and Glory and Pasta. That was really cool. I'm sorry that because of the personal issues that I'm having trouble with sound. I'm having trouble with lighting. And I'm just trying to work, it out week to week. So that's primarily what I'm working on right now. But, I'm grateful for everybody in the chat. I'm grateful for everybody having their own opinions and, keeping us abreast of things, and just know that I and Chris and Marcus are internally grateful for all the work y'all put in the chat, because it's really turning into something. I mean, like a couple months ago, we wouldn't have had that much discourse, and now, we've got now we got real fans. So grateful to all of you, especially during this tough time. So.
Yes, and for those who don't know, it's tough for all of us in different ways. And even though we come on the show, we still are human beings. So we're gonna have our ups and downs, outside of the show. So try to keep that in mind when, sometimes when we might not be as pepped up, or we come in a little extra fiery, or we just seem like, man, I don't give a fuck about none of this shit. Just keep that in mind. We go through our different ebbs and flows and emotions and stuff too, especially with reacting in what I feel is a very oppressive system. At this point, it doesn't matter your race, creed, or religion. It's just, if you are beneath a certain line, that's just what you get. That we're all the same, going through a lot of that stuff. Now, of course, there's always the race thing, where people are going through some different shit. But as far as the government, the boot is on all of our necks, and so that needs to be kept in mind. What did I see? Yeah, I see you, Variant. L is not gonna do that. She's not hopping on. I mean, you can hit her up. She is on Twitter. You can ask her if she wants to go in detail more and more. But when I invited her over to the show, she was like, "Yeah, I'm not really comfortable with that. Is that going to be an issue?" And I was like, "No, it's not going to be an issue." So if she prefers it being on the phone, then hey, we're going to stick on the phone. So I want all my hosts to be able to feel comfortable in whichever setting and talk about it however way they feel best. And so also it gives Elle the time to hop in the chat section and go back and forth with you all more. So that's something which I've noticed. It's kind of like an unintended positive cause you don't think about. So, I mean, I like that, because for those comments that we're not able to pop up on the screen and talk about, she's able to keep that conversation going back and forth with everybody. So that's good. Let's see.
Circle back.
Yeah, circle back again. Marcus, people would like to know how to donate to the channel. Actually, for my co-hosts, if they'd like to put their cash app or anything out, to help receive some funding, that's fine. I myself, I don't take any kind of donations. I want to give this information to you all freely. I don't want anybody to ever feel like I'm doing this for money. And I'm not saying any other people are. I'm just saying that I understand that, for one, being a so-called black commentator, it's a different walk. And with this censorship battle that's been going on, I know there are people who are out there just doing this for money. And I want to be I don't want anybody to ever think, they could be like, you know what, he's just maybe lost his fucking mind, or he's wrong on this. That's fine. I don't want anybody to think that money has ever influenced any decision and content that I'm going to put up. So that's why I don't personally take any donations. I just want to I don't want not one single person to ever be able to think that's a possibility of anything that goes on with what I do. But it's nothing wrong with taking donations. But I just don't for this. Now, maybe down the road, I might do a fund and say, hey, you know what? I think I maybe need to upgrade in tech. Then I will try, but I at that point, I don't feel comfortable personally taking any funding for it. Especially like when we share clips, which we try to use fair use. I don't want them to think also, if we share a clip from somebody, that we're just trying to make money off somebody else's clip. So I know it can be a little bit extreme. Some people are like, you're going a long way to try to prove that you're not, shady. But I'm like, I want people to have information. And if people are getting educated, to me, that's a reward. So, watching people wake up from the corruption and all the shit that goes on in this fucking matrix, breaking out of the matrix is a gift to me. So, Misha Key says, enjoyed this, much appreciated all. Thank you, Marcus. And L, and Emmanuel. And Chris is as other host. Chris had to dip out. And look forward to seeing. I'm going to try to figure out exactly when he's going to do it. If it's going to be once a month or if it's going to be bi-weekly. But Ted Rose, I can't talk. It's getting late. Ted Rose, Thinkramarian, from the Geon Journal. I've talked to him about coming on and just sharing some of his articles. Let's have a segment, and he just goes through some of his different articles. We talk about it, and then go with the audience and reflect on it a little bit. So look forward to seeing Ted Rose. Fingers crossed I can get him every 2 weeks, but I understand, we all have our different things going on. Like, for instance, if Elle has a big project going on and she can't make it for a show, I get it. That's no problem. So I am happy when I am able to get, get the whole team together. We all have, our different issues. Oh yeah, I mentioned RJ interview. I'm giving my last couple of plugs. And if my signal will quit giving me headaches, on my Hebrew Apologetics page, I have a video on the Talmud, which is coming out. For those who are not familiar with the Talmud, please check it out. Now, granted, I will give you a disclaimer. I did go to most of the controversial stuff in the Babylonian Talmud, because plenty of people say, well, you can take one word out of context. Well, I decided I'm going to leave that stuff in there, and you guys can decide if you feel that's out of context, what I added in there. If so, blast me, say, you kind of did that unfairly. But if not, at a certain point, we have to start looking and calling things out as they are. It's kind of funny. We didn't even talk hardly much about the Farce of July, which that's the reason why. It's no point. Literally, everybody who was sitting here on this phone call and majority of the people in this chat would not have had rights at the time of, celebrating independence. Even for white men, if you did not own property, you could not vote. So keep that in mind. There was a lot of people who were not allowed to vote. Voting was exclusive to the elite, wealthy white men only. Even if you're a white woman, it didn't matter how wealthy you were, how educated you were, women couldn't vote. So keep that in mind. Myself, Emmanuel, and Elle, none of us would have been actually able to have that true so-called independence, which the whole holiday is supposed to be about. And so I like to, keep that kind of stuff in mind. And when we go out and celebrate these kind of holidays, I mean, you go into the Star Spangled Banner. Read the third stanza for those who aren't familiar with it, and then you can understand the mentality that was going on in that time period, because some people will say, well, that's just one man's words. Yeah, one man's words, what's a whole nation decided, to adopt that song. And even when a lot of people found out the negative things about that song, like 100 years ago or more, they didn't care. So, that's where that goes into the whole critical race theory and stuff like that, and then not wanting to teach it. Well, people would have knew how racist the damn song was if you guys didn't start yanking everything out of school, out of fear. In my opinion. Oh yeah, the original Star Spangled Banner is disgusting, and I got to the point where even a lot of old cartoons, Disney, I can't watch any of the old, what was it, whatever Mickey Mouse stuff. I mean, you're literally looking at the minstrel show. For those who aren't familiar with minstrel shows, look up minstrel shows. Is another layer of the racism that went on during that time period. So, I mean, I look at, even under while my mom was growing up, how it was certain schools that it wasn't a law for it, but it was known, these are white schools. This is a black school. I mean, I started thinking about something the other day, and I was like, this is crazy for me to think about. I'm not that many generations actually even removed from slavery. My great grandmother was a slave. Great grandmother. So that means a lot of black people, which you see who might be 60, 50s, 60s, 70s, it's possible their parents or grandparents could have been slaves. Just keep that in mind, you know. One of the guys, somebody I work with, he was what they call an old folks baby. You know, parents were like 40s or 50s when they had him or something like that. Now, when you wait that long and you start doing the math, you're like, wait a minute, what was it? What year did that end? And you start doing the math and you're like, wait a minute, that's not that far ago. So, you know, just keep that. I mean, like, for instance, my grandmother was born in 1924, 23 or 24. So think about it. Do the math. You know, go back, say, what, 50 years. You're literally sitting right at the end of slavery. So that's all. I will leave it at that for now. Of course, I am working on a bunch of different stuff. Make sure you all stay up with all three of my channels. I will do a short video update that for those who follow me on my what I've been thinking, where I've been trying to do more videos during the week, you know, just whatever hot topics that are going on, wrap it up over there. I will, let's see, at some point, I guess no, I'll probably do Monday, Tuesday, but Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I probably won't be doing any shows because I got surprised. My mom will be in town. So I'll be taking mom around, trying to have a good time. Maybe one of these days drag her onto the live stream. I doubt she would do that. But if I can, I'll try to bring her on here. You know. But that said, this has been the Political Matrix. I'm your host, Young Morpheus, here with the Blue Maverick, my good friend Emmanuel, and the lovely Elle Latham, and then our good friend Cy Lawson. Chris was here earlier, and a big shout out to Convo Couch and Slow News Day. I mean, they do great work over there. I can't say it enough times. Make sure you all are staying abreast to all these different channels. Try not to get tunnel vision and only pick one. Jump around to all of us because we're all touching on different subjects. And it's like a piano. You need all the keys. So keep that in mind. I will see you all later. Be safe out here, especially on this weekend. Last thing I want to hear about is that any of you guys died in any kind of fireworks, accident, or explosion. So please be safe out there. Have a good one.